Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is December 28th, 2022. I could not think of a more appropriate, fantastic time of year to be doing this particular teaching, which is Level 1, Lesson 8, Non-Religious Christ Consciousness. So I think, and I put this out invitation on Patron because I wanted to make sure that anybody who's interested would be able to come here and be a part of the live meeting. Don't worry, I will also add the archive because as I was going over my notes this morning, and I always prepare for class, I was really thinking, I think that this is one of the most significant or important or salient or relevant teachings and sharings that I have to give. And so I'm very excited about it. And I feel very tuned in, very tuned in. So going to just dive right in about oh my goodness. I'm already fragmented. I'm perfectly organized and I have all of my notes and everything is fantastic, except I'm also extremely fragmented. No, because I wrote some notes this morning. Because as I'm going through things, I'm also like, okay, let me also write down some of what is relevant for our journey right now. You know, I've been here on this planet for 21 years or so. So the things that we're dealing with now are really an exacerbation and a continuation of the challenges and things that I've been facing personally and that we all have been facing for at least the past 20 years. But things have definitely intensified over the past several years. So as I was writing these notes, I thought, I don't want to place undue attention, literally the tendril of attention, whatever you're focusing your thoughts on and whatever we're doing with our attention, we are attenuating to eating small amounts of it. I don't want to unduly attenuate to some of these pathogens that are in existence. And I feel like I have to speak to it because it is a part of the journey of what is going on right now, that there is, and again, not to frame everything as dualistic opposition, but we're experiencing Christ and this non-religious Christ consciousness and planetary awakening. And there's also Antichrist, which is this antithetical, but also like an obstacle that we are experiencing in terms of errant signals that are affecting the pineal gland, that are like false light and illusions and distractions. And the noise to signal ratio can sometimes be 98% noise and only 2% truth. So I wanted to say that without focusing on it too much, I will refer to it because again, I recorded this lesson 10 years ago and I like to record everything. I'm actually proud that I did that in terms of a pristine world, and the focusing our mind's eye on the ideal realities. But then still I want you to recognize I'm not fake and I'm not going to gloss over things and be like, la, 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 that stuff over there, just pretend it's not happening. Not going to do that. So we'll openly acknowledge some things, but want to give 98% of my verbal and attention energy to the true Christ. All right. And so as I was thinking about metaphors, I walked my dog before class today right now. She's playing right over here right now. So I just want you to know, we have as many hours as we need to be able to go through this. And I'm really going to be very thorough and feeling unhurried in what I have to share today. In preparing my notes for class, I wanted to use this analogy that's not part of what I recorded 10 years ago. So old-fashioned art schools, the way that it used to work, like when you were learning how to paint and draw from reality, before photographs were even invented, the way that art schools were often structured is 3 literal floors, like of a building, with the model, the ideal form. The model is, pardon me, let me drink a little something here. Structured mineralized water is what's in my wine glass over here. And I also have superfood smoothie coffee. I'm totally fortified and prepared. Trish is joining in. I'm so pleased. She's in a very radically different time zone. So I'm pleased when she's able to come in. And Joanne is coming in too. Very good. I knew everybody would come. It's just a holiday week. Okay. Old-fashioned structure of art school has the idealized model that you are drawing and painting from up on the 3rd floor. Okay. And if you are a first-year student, you're on the same floor with the model and you can kind of like look at the model, then look at your painting, look at the model, then look at your painting. And more advanced students are on the 2nd floor. That means, what do you have to do? You have to run up 2 flights of stairs, look at the model, be like, oh, like that's what that eye is shaped like. And that's what that jaw is shaped like. Okay, then run back down to your easel, do it properly. And then of course, the most advanced students are on the ground floor that they have to run up 3 or 4 flights of steps, go up there, look at the model, memorize everything, make a really, really clear imprintation to get a likeness of what that person that you're drawing is, and then run back down, maintaining the clarity of what you have seen in order to then accurately translate it using your paintbrush or your pencil onto your canvas or your paper that you're painting on, all right? All of this is a direct analogy to the activation of these energy anatomies that are known as, this is your indigo or brow chakra. It is also your Christ chakra that is affiliated with Christ consciousness, but is not necessarily only limited to practitioners or those who are members of the denomination known as the Christian religion. So this teaching today is about Christ consciousness and is about a universal, cosmic, galactic, overarching or meta consciousness that has had avatars throughout the ages, or one particularly well-known avatar that came 2,000 years ago, who was an awakened person within this dream that has come to help to awaken others within this dream, okay? And this is analogous to an awakening or an opening here, that you have a dormancy, which again, I speak to the time of ancient Atlantis, a time before humans were genetically modified or limited or diminished in their capacitation, when at that time, everybody had their inner eye fully open or fully awakened or fully functional. And I always grab my little crystal because there's a phonetic, etymological connection between Christ, crystal, crystalline, and this form of consciousness that we're talking about. I always hold up my crystal over here. This is representative of the crystal structure that is within your own biological anatomy that is known as your pineal gland. So pineal gland I'm going to focus on in terms of part 2 of this teaching. That's how the original recorded lessons are structured. I'll speak to the physical structures, but first I want to speak to the purely energetic structures. And pictures worth 1,000 words, 1,000 of my flapping of my moving mouth parts. And I prepared these not laboriously, but very easily before I got to class today. Hold on, I always have to do this. Zoom things away. And also this, I'm still working on, this is album cover for Believers. Gonna release Believers very soon, I promise. And I didn't want to rush it to have it ready in time for Christmas. Oh, and we're admitting Lucy to the meeting. How lovely. Okay, so this is actually a screenshot from my recorded lesson. And over here on the left, where I'm scribbling in blue, is this drawing that I did that I think is a good blending of anatomy, where you can see there is the actual brain and brainstem and vertebrae of a human being. And you can even see eyeballs and teeth over here. And you can see that there's a deep central midbrain connection point between, there is a chakra that is pointing upward, that is your crown chakra. And there is a chakra that points forward towards your face, that is your brow chakra. And at the center of where these two vortex-shaped energy fields intersect and interpenetrate, it's a very magical, special part of your physical anatomy. And there resides there an actual gland. Let's see, can I? Yes, I can. Although it will be blurry. You're like, Aurora, you're hurting us right now. I'm not trying to just hurt your eyes, but this is a little diagram right here of what's going on inside of your actual brain. There's an actual gland there, but to focus right now, we're focusing on the actual energy field and basically of your energy field of your anatomy. And your non-physical anatomy is not only your indigo or brow chakra, but also includes in significance here. Wait, can I move this thing down so I can draw more easily? No, I cannot. You just answer. I answered my own question. Can I move this thing so I can draw more easily? Yes. This drawing shows it pretty well over here. You have this Christ chakra, brow chakra that is oriented, we're going to say for ease of consideration here, quote unquote, horizontally. And then you have your crown chakra that is oriented vertically, and that these create this complementary 90-degree angle, which I'll show you these other pictures more in detail, that hold on a minute. I have to exit this thing. Show you more pictures. The interplay of those two chakras together. Wait, this guy I want to move. This guy I want to bring on over. That's what I wanted to do. There is a complementary whirling energy field, one that is whirling around. Let's choose the right color. One that is whirling around literally like this in front of your faceplate. And it has very much a lens shape, and is the lens of reality that you use as an interpretive structure to be able to perceive the raw data of stimulus and waveform potentials that come to you. I should say stimuli. That also has, so it whirls around in this direction, but it also has a movement kind of whirling around your head like this, like the whole entire apparatus whirls around. And I also really wanted to use this to emphasize bright green. This is your heart chakra in bright green over here, showing a giant spiraling heart. And you can see how the heart chakra and the field of coherent, unconditional love creates the basis within which, or the plateau or platform within which, these are the higher faculties that rest upon there. This lens of reality that is technically your anthropomorphic lens. You are human, anthropo means human, and you are, or man-shaped. You are looking out at the world through your human lens. So if you were a dog, this would be your canine lens. If you were a cat, this would be your feline lens. If you were a rock shrimp, it would be your crustacean shaped lens. And you would perceive and know everything through that primacy of your senses of being that particular species. Then all of this matters over here because you have complementary at 90-degree angles, this whirling vortex that comes down through the top of your head. And that is your crown. And your crown is like your GPS or your God positioning system. This violet chakra is like the needle. If I draw it like this, like here is your needle, and it points to true north, and true north is God. And then it is within the housing or the protective coverage of the brow chakra. And that is exactly what you have going on in your own energy anatomy. So when I talk about your higher faculties, of course, I haven't even talked about like your throat chakra down here, but for today, because this is about non-religious Christ consciousness is not just the brow. It's not just this indigo level or layer of being. It is really the interplay of these two anatomical structures and the viewpoint, elevated viewpoint, and increased levels of information that are available to you when those are both active. So what does it take for your Christ chakras to be active? I pretty much laid it out for you there, guys. Tons and tons and tons of unconditional love. Love tone, unconditional love, or the love tone, is like energy in your energetic bank account. It is like money in the bank. It is like the gas that makes your car go. This is some wonderful superfood decaf coffee. I swear, I'm drinking decaf for you these days, guys. Saturday morning, I did caffeine for everyone. Unconditional love is the gas that makes your car go. So you can be a very, very, very elevated person that has done a ton of self-cultivation, and you have activated your inner eye, and you have even activated your crown chakra and received direct light stimulation and information into your mind, into your pineal gland. And then sometimes you're like, well, I did that before. Where is it? Where is it again? Why is it not here again? And the answer can be, you can have a very fancy car like a Lamborghini that is sitting in your driveway out of gas. Out of gas. It's a great car, but it's just out of gas. So it is necessary to cultivate the energy of the cosmos that literally brings your attention and awareness up to this level. But also, this is not the end of the journey in terms of perception, expanded perception. This is one stage of expanded perception. And then the crown is really the culmination of expanded perception. Important to say this because some people have a spontaneous first awakening, can be under the influence of drugs or molecules or trauma or being in the presence of someone great. Like I know someone that had this experience in the presence of the Dalai Lama. We can have a whole conversation about the Dalai Lama, but let's just say send blessings his way, whatever you think or feel about him. I know someone that had a spontaneous rising of energy up their spine, just sitting at one of these group talks that was given in Woodstock, and his inner eye opened up. But he received a lot of information that was very destabilizing. He didn't have a huge foundation of strong, unconditional love. Unconditional love is like this. Like imagine you're like holding your lover's hand. I'm holding Cheeky's paw, being like, baby, you could tell me anything and I won't flinch, you know? And that's what unconditional love is. And, you know, I'm a little lighthearted in this, but really it is that sense of total acceptance of the information and the profound significance, all of the ramifications of that information that come to us through this information here. So similar to the human Christian religious worship, adornment, and focus on an icon that is a human being that is looked at as a teacher that will tell you everything. This is the inner teacher. So my big distinction that I'm trying to make here, without any disrespect to the human organized religion, even though I will give my valid critiques of what I think is out of balance or inaccurate in that religious portrayal, this is something that this cosmic Christ consciousness, and when I say cosmic, I mean across all layers of time, across all parallel dimensions, involving all light everywhere, all stars everywhere, all consciousness everywhere, a very, very large overarching umbrella definition of light on its journey, of consciousness on its journey, not just limited to one little tiny planet and not just limited to one small sect of humans who identify as a particular organized religion or have a particular form of worship of the divine in terms of embodiment. I know a lot of words, and I'm going to sound very like, I don't know, specific and defensive, but I'm not trying to go into defensiveness. I'm actually in pure love here. The religion of Christianity says like there is a person with a face and two arms and two legs who will lead and guide you. What I'm trying to portray here is that you have an inner anatomy that is like a compass and a book that contains all information, or the I call library card to the library of the cosmos. So not the book, but the thing that gives you access to the book of all knowledge that will teach and guide you and also nourish you everything that you need on your journey. And the real pitfalls are the personifications that we find at the level of anthropocentric seeing. So now I will speak about what is anthropocentric versus cosmic or universal, abstract at this level. So anthropocentric means human or man-centered. And that means when you get, so you're raising your energy up your chakra system, even though it's not just up your chakra system because it's in every single cell of your body. So even though we might associate it with your forehead and your pineal gland, please understand every single cell of your body, including like the cells on my hand here, have a Christ chakra. So it is a shorthand for this level of energizing, powering up to that level. Okay, shorthand. Please don't be too literal in what I'm sharing with you on that particular level. You raise your energy up to a certain level of activation and activate up to the level of the brow chakra, the Christ chakra. And that what that means is able to perceive a larger amount of information and energy through the human interpretive lens. Lens in front of your face, lens in front of your face. It's a big giant, like a windshield in front of your face. That is shaped like humans. So you can spend all of the gas in your car looking through the world, through the aperture or the porthole of human experience. But it is ripe for misinterpretation. There are many things when you look at the world through that lens where you can misinterpret, I already said that, simply not see clearly in the levels of interpretation and the clarity of perception that is happening. If you go just a little bit further, if you're like, wait, like someone is gonna, like you're choosing off the menu of life and you're like, wait, would you like to have this? Like, here's like a roast chicken and that's seeing through here. And you're like, wait, that looks delicious. I think I want that. Be like, wait, don't order off the menu yet. Hold off. Say like, wait, I need a little bit more time to really choose what I'm going to order on the menu here. Get your energy all the way up to this level. You can tell my spine just went up too. This level of the crown is the level of pure abstraction. This is where I paint my paintings from. It's everything that I'm wearing on my various clothing and all these paintings that you see behind you. Here, I've got a little bit of anthropomorphic interpretation because I do have a human figure in there, but most of these are these pure abstractions. The crown with this eye activated gives you pure empirical information, pure data, pure uninterpreted truth about the world and about the structure of the world. And it actually costs a lot. Think of it as booking time on the telescope. You know, like one of these giant, like Hubble Space Telescopes or whatever, all of the ground-based scientists are like, I want to book time on that telescope. Everybody wants to look through that telescope. I want to look at the wonders of the cosmos. So you can't just sit there for like 5 hours, you know, looking through the telescope, hum-de-dum-dum. You have to be like, okay, like I've got 13 minutes. I want to look at these coordinates, these coordinates, these coordinates. I have like a very specific things that I want to look at. I'm trying to impart to you the sense of how valuable this perspective is, how expensive it is in terms of inner energy and self-cultivation and your inner spiritual metabolism to get to those levels of attainment. Or another good analogy would be you're climbing Mount Everest and it's like a trudge and it takes so many days. And then like, okay, so you're at base camp. Let's say this is not base camp because base camp would be all the way down here, but you've camped slightly below the summit. And you're like, you know something, today we looked at the weather, we're going to summit. And you're like, okay, guys, get your climbing gear on. And then you climb up to the summit and you're like, we have 13 minutes. Stand here on the pinnacle of the tallest mountain that you can possibly climb and enjoy 13 minutes. This is an arbitrary number of minutes because the weather's coming in. We don't have that much food and water. We're going to have to get back down to safety. Do you understand? So it's the sense of like, really taking the greatest potential of that viewpoint of that moment to be able to look at and learn the most important things that are the primary, most teaching, I want to say most valuable to your journey levels of insight of the things that you need to know about on your life. Like as you are beginning to activate your own brow and crown chakra, what you really need to do is say internally and ask for from the cosmic librarian, can I please have the information that is the most relevant to me at this point on my journey? All right. Because there is an infinite amount of information and energy out there. When I say, so my analogies are, this is like your library card for the cosmic library. And then this crown is like the librarian. You should always read at your reading level and you should be guided by the librarian and you should read books in order. And that gives you genuine, intelligent access to just the complete overwhelming wall of information that is the world. So you might not know this, but our world is actually full of information that is genuine truth, that it's everywhere. Just like, I mean, if I'm diverging a little bit to my Path of Light curriculum, but what is coming to you in terms of the light from the sun and the stars is just a slice. You're just getting the photons that they're sending directly to your eyes, but they are sending photons out in a giant, ever expanding shell. There's a lot that you're not seeing that with this particular level of neurology, like you would be fried, you would be mind fried, you would be eye fried, you would be overwhelmed by the truthfulness and how much there is that just your, that's it. You would not be able to internalize it effectively at this point on your journey. Please love yourself. So like, you know, I don't want to just overwhelm you and give you like, here's a giant blob of lasagna. I want to give you like, here's like a square of lasagna. Go eat it and internalize it and then come back and there's more lasagna to eat. That is the learning process. And that's also radical self-love and radical self-compassion of saying like, I'm not going to learn a symphony all in one day. Like you learn a portion of it, you go home and you practice it, you internalize it, you come back, you learn the next part, and then eventually you put all these puzzle pieces together. And that forms a cohesive view that leads to a truthful interpretation and view of what is actually happening in the world. So the danger of people spontaneously or through self-cultivation or through drugs or molecules activating and awakening this part of the body is sometimes they get a flash of insight that is 100% on the anthropocentric level, that is not guided by the librarian of the cosmos, which means that they're reading books out of order, and often those books are not age appropriate or relevant to their journey. There's so many things that I want to say about this, because it goes beyond the sense of not reading stuff out of order. The human interpretation system itself and information at this level itself is ripe for misinterpretation. So as I was walking my dog this morning, I'm walking around and looking at a real estate sign. I saw a name of someone that I thought looked familiar on that sign. And I started to tune into it with my third eye. I started to attenuate with my attention. I paid attention to it. I used some of the gas in my heart to pay attention to it. And I started to realize, oh, and that's connected to this and connected to this, connected to this. But I also realized this, I was spending my incredibly valuable energy of the day learning about something that's not that relevant to me on my journey. And it was coming through the human filter and the interpretation structure, things that might be important to know about on the human level, but that are not necessarily cosmically relevant. How relevant is a particular piece of real estate or real estate agent to the journey of light, atoms, the interplay of molecules, my journey as a soul? How relevant is that? Another question to ask yourself is kind of like, how translatable is it? Imagine you're like, if for a rock shrimp, it might be, or a crustacean, it might be like, yeah, I was crawling past that place and I saw like, oh, there could be some good snails for me to eat over there. Like, is that relevant? Does that translate to the overarching journey of your soul and all these other things that you can be experiencing? When you get to the level of pure empirical seeing, when your crown is also activated, you get information that is relevant to you, no matter if you're a rock shrimp or if you're a human, or if you're a dog, or if you're a redwood tree. You get a pure impulse of divine intelligence that then, of course, percolates through or proliferates through all of these other layers of your being, including your anthropocentric filter comes through your human viewpoint, including your heart, including into your OS, your flawed human operating system. That's not always going to be flawed. That's why I don't know if it's so good for me to always call it your flawed human operating system, but your waking, your waking, talking mind, and even as a neural impulse into your physicality structure. But please recognize that all of those things are a slight diminishment of the full truthfulness of the signal, which is the signal of pure divine intelligence. So I'm going a little bit out of order but okay. I have so many things I want to say. I'm going a little bit out of order on the notes, but I'm going to make sure I get to everything. So when you get enough gas in your car to get up to the higher levels of the art school and actually see the model that you're drawing and painting, first of all, the model is a model of reality. This crystalline structure here is the paintbrush of your mind, is the paintbrush of your mind. You are painting in beautiful divine partnership and harmonic convergence with not only Christ consciousness, that is a larger being that is not defined as human, which is why I draw a distinction between master teacher from 2000 years ago, who is a beautiful person and incredibly valuable to us, but not the only aspect of Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness, which is this larger overarching energy field of pure intelligence, pure light, and pure knowing, that when we are embodied and we are in conjunction with that larger energy field, we create a divine union. And this is also something that's in my notes from this morning, but not in my notes from what I recorded from 10 years ago. The marriage, there's often spoken about in biblical literacy, I wanted to say, the marriage, the bride of Christ. Christ shall come and marry his bride, which is in this planetary structure. I want you to know that the marriage is you. You, whether you are a man or a woman, are marrying Christ. Christ is not male, not female, universal consciousness, that you marry and create this beautiful partnership where whatever you tell me, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to love and accept whatever you tell me coming in through here. I'm going to love and accept it. And the only challenge is if you haven't activated this, the information that comes through the human level, it can be destabilizing, can make you go wibble wobbly if you don't have a huge amount of love and acceptance, because you might have insights about people, about whether they're doing something naughty, about whether what is happening. I don't want to go into judgment, but like you might want to go into inner judgment. You start to see things. You start to see things and know things in a direct knowing that might be considered socially inappropriate, is a better way of putting it. And then you have to really work hard to remain in unconditional love, to have that mountaintop, peak of Mount Everest perspective, to remain non-judgmental, to see those things that are being given to you through the anthropocentric filter as like, okay, that person is doing that thing. And it comes within the larger context of their life and the larger context of their many, many lives, and to give it some relevance beyond merely the human level of interpretation. Because in the most, I'll get into this more in part 2, but in the most neutral way, when you're looking through your third eye, perceiving light through your third eye, connected through your crown directly to divine intelligence, you perceive things like particle A interact with particle B, leading to result C. And then there's really no judgment. These are just things that happened. But it feels very, very different if I use this word structure. Person A stabbed person B in the heart, resulting in event C, which is death. That feels different because we want to go into a whole interpretive structure, a story structure. There's emotions, there's feelings involved. And I'm, again, not an apologist and not condoning stabbing people violently. Please never misinterpret anything that I'm saying. I put giant force fields of protection around everything that I teach here so that it's not misinterpreted or cherry picked or taken out of context. But you know where I come from as Aurora, the cosmic being. Everybody has an awakened inner eye. Every person that we're interacting with, every an energy being that we're interacting with, I see the totality. Read that person like a book, read you like a book from page 1 to page 1 million, all at once. And so that means that the totality in all facets of that person are perceived. There is a sense of assessment, because I don't want you to think that it's just like a paintbrush, get out of jail free. It's all okay. It all comes out in the wash kind of thing. No, really no. But I want you to recognize that the behaviors or activities that we would consider to be negative are seen in context. This is not a justification system. This is not, again, apologist for unjustifiable behavior. This does not justify the unjustifiable, like stabbing someone. But there is a framework of events leading up to that moment. And then there is a framework of events or emanations that come away from that moment. And when you really gain spiritual attainment, what you do when you have this light of true sustenance coming inside of you is you're able to form a cohesive picture of reality where there is causality. This thing happened, made this thing happen over here, and then translated to waveforms. Everything percolated, the dominoes fell to this thing over here. And for this thing to happen over here, this thing had to happen over here. Again, this is not a justification, because I talk about the dangers of when people raise their energy up to this level of inner brow seeing. Some of them get to that level, but have not yet connected to this and unity consciousness, and the sense that if particle A is stabbing particle B, particle A is actually stabbing itself and causing its own death. If you haven't yet gotten to that level of pure mathematical perfection, which goes hand in hand with unity consciousness, then the information that comes in at this level can and has been by some used as a justification system to justify what I would consider to be unjustifiable, many, many harmful activities, things that we would consider power abuse, unnecessary violence towards others, even like hatred and other forms of genocide and suppression. Be like, well, all of that had to happen over here in order for this to happen over here, for the good stuff to happen over here. So it's all in the recipe, la-di-da. Like, I'm being very, very facetious there because I want you to know how much I don't agree with that, how much I don't teach that, that really this is meant to be your eye of time. And it is meant to show you the future and the roads of time that you walk upon so that you can make excellent decisions. But it is not supposed to be about manifesting an arbitrary reality. The opposite, the paintbrush of your mind, when you paint with your beautiful spouse, partner, that is Christ, you are painting a non-arbitrary reality. That means you are painting a very, very specific ideal reality. So maybe for the rest of, I'm going to try to focus for the next of our few hours together on telling you about the ideal reality, because just like in that art school that I'm telling you about, you walk up 4 flights of stairs, you look at the model who is there, and then what you want to do is paint the thing that you actually saw. My words didn't come out right because I want you to know, like, you're looking at the model. That is the model of reality. That is perfection. You're looking at divine perfection. When I go up the art school stairs and I look at these perfect patterns, I am like, these are perfect patterns. Like, it's like looking at the most beautiful face. Like, this is so perfect. This is so beautiful. And I'm always like this, I got to somehow remember this. How am I going to remember this? And then when I'm actually doing the paintings, I'm like, what? I'm squinting internally. Like, what did that actually look like? That's what it's like when you get back down to being in front of your canvas. Get back down to being in front of your canvas, and you're like, okay, what was that nose actually shaped like? And then what was that eyeball actually shaped like? And where did the shadow kind of fall across the shoulder? And then where were the highlights that were coming in? So you have to have a really, really clear imprint and imprintation of that truthfulness of the divine architecture of reality. And it does proliferate through the human filter. So when you really become awakened and activated as a Christ or as the Christ or on the Christ network, these are all perfect languaging to be able to say things. And I don't want you to feel that it's wrong or blasphemous or too egotistical to say these things. You become part of a multifaceted, beautiful being of consciousness. And what you are doing is taking that perfect patterning of the cosmos and then translating it through your individuated experience, in this case, as a human being, to co-create a beautiful reality structure. And that's what this marriage is. And I'm giving this teaching right now. We are going through ongoing planetary ascension, which is basically the uplift and awakening to Christhood of our whole planet. That means not just one person, which is enough of a miracle or a supernatural occurrence or an amazing statistical unlikelihood that would just, whatever, rock the foundations of mathematics. You can't even calculate the unlikelihood of this happening to even one person, but happening to every organism on an entire planet and the planet herself / itself at the same time. Amazing unlikelihood. I want to say the probabilistic numbers on that are uncalculated, not able to be calculated. Incredible unlikelihood. That's why I call it a miracle. A supernatural event is happening. And that is what is the end result of this. I wrote this in my notes, that all psychosexual social dynamics aside, in terms of what marriage actually is in this world, because I'm aware even 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, even today, people's marriages, like between men and women, are often fraught, like they're often out of balance. Power struggles, power dynamics. But I'm speaking to you in the ideal world. In the ideal world, when you have a man and a woman that marry together, it is for this procreative purpose to be able to bring forth a child, new life, and continue life into the next generation. Okay. So when you come together and you are marrying Christ in this awakening of your insight, your inner mind and your ability to see and perceive light and time directly, You are painting a perfect reality structure. The reality structure is the child that you're giving birth to. And again, it's not just your individual reality birth, your only little tiny family that you're making. Each one of us is doing this concurrently on a whole planet that is doing this. It's an amazing birth event. That's what this painting is about. This painting is called Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I have another painting called Birth of a New Dimension that's on behind the camera. You can't see it, but I stare at it all the time while I make my music. Birth event, giving birth to a new child that is called a new world of reality. And in human partnership, clearly biologically, males and females are different, and they have their unique strengths and weaknesses, or strengths and vulnerabilities. And that is accurate and also positive in terms of biological design features. And like I said, if you get beyond the psychosocial sexual dynamics and politics and power struggles and all these different things, in the ideal partnership, what's happening is the strengths are combining together, not fighting each other, and the vulnerabilities are mitigated by each other's strengths in order to give birth to something new. That is what is supposed to happen, that you're supposed to be a participant, a co-creator, and a translator of these perfect, divine, empirical calculations of the giant supercomputer that is known as God, that you're a part of, spoiler alert, that you become, that is being translated through your anthropocentric filter, through your human experience, and coming out as the world that you emanate with your mind, which is also your imagination. This is your true mind. Wait, here's this crystal. This is your true mind. This is your imagination. Imagination, from root word imagos, that means giving form to this. I hope I have that remembered correctly. I have to look at my notes. It's on my notes on another page. Remember, if I forget, it is just like the imaginal cells that are inside of a butterfly that happen during the moment of metamorphosis, overarching, morphosis meaning changing shape. When butterflies are developing in the chrysalis, they go into a state of formlessness when their form as a caterpillar gets totally dissolved, and then they are in a state of pure potential. And out of that state of pure potential, the imaginal cells imagine them into their next form, which is the adult winged form that gains an additional dimension from a two-dimensional worm-like creature that inches along on the flat plane of life to the adult winged form. Where's one of my drawings? You know what I can, with the wings of the chakras sticking outward, the adult winged form of the human, where you have wings of pure consciousness that allow you to fly from leaf to leaf or experience time in a non-linear fashion. So when I talk about causality, it can be hard when you are inching along on the surface of time to be able to see, why did this thing happen? Why did bad things happen to good people? Why did this bad thing happen to me? Why did I spill my coffee on my way to work in the morning and get something on my dress that I like so much? That didn't happen. But I'm using an example from reality. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do we spill coffee on our shirt in the morning? Instead of like shaking your fist at God, it's not fair. Hard to see the fairness when you're embedded in linearity. But when you begin to awaken your Christ chakra, and especially into the abstract mathematical divine perfections of these patterns of the larger overarching divine intelligence, you begin to see non-linear perception of time. And I use that example is like when you look at a tapestry, like I talk about that unicorn tapestry. I think it's in the cloisters in New York, medieval tapestry. See the front picture, it looks like a uniform. Everything is a unicorn, rather. The front of the picture looks like a unicorn. Everything is perfectly embroidered. But if you turn it around, you're going to peek behind there and see what's behind on the other side that faces the wall. There's all sorts of knots. It doesn't look very pretty. There's all sorts of strings and knots, and this thing ties into this thing, this ties into this thing. But although it might not be a pretty picture, it's absolutely informative, because you're like, well, look at that. Like, they had to tie this part together with this part in order to make this happen on the front. That's like being able to see the causality structure of reality across many parallel timelines, parallel versions of self, across time, from the beginning of time to, you know, where we are now, linear time, across parallel dimensions, many, many different versions of reality structures. You begin to see the time tapestry and all of the pictures of events that happen in reality, and also all of the supportive infrastructures that made those events happen. And then you do end up perceiving it as great beauty. Like there's great truth, there's great beauty, and you do begin to perceive the necessity of these things. But again, it is not a condonement or justification, because you can't be like, chop off everybody's heads. It's all the rage. It's the needed, much needed thing to happen so that all this good stuff can happen down here. And because that's just pathology. That is psychopathology, mind disease, justifying things and saying, oh, well, that bad thing had to happen in order for this good thing to happen. So therefore, if I want more good things to happen, I better make a bunch of bad things happen. And then these good things will happen. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. And that is not my work. And that is not what I'm trying to say. And there's not really a justification to say, like, we need these bad things happen to you in order to make you into the person that you are today. I really am big on this. I always say, no, you know something, those bad things didn't need to happen to make you the person that you are today. You are who you are in spite of, despite those negative experiences that you had. So you are great. You are great. If I use Bethany Hamilton is a good example, because I just saw a video from her many, many years ago. She was like a teen surfer, and she got her arm bitten off by a shark while she was surfing. And instead of having it give her a fear of the water or, you know, an incapacitation or whatever, she got better and she went back to surfing. And so she was like, you know, she's definitely an inspirational person is what I'm trying to hold her journey forward as. I don't think that the shark bite made her the person that she is. I think that she is a great person who came into this world and refused to have that greatness diminished by one shark that chomped her arm on one day, and decided to continue with great effort and willpower and strength and determination to keep going in spite of that injury. So I don't think the injury made her great. I think she was already great, and that her response to the injury shows that greatness. Please use that as a template in your own life. If you have your arm, quote unquote, bitten off by a shark in life, it is not there as a lesson to make you learn, to make you great, or any of those things. Please don't justify that as causality structure. And this is some of my own, I'm putting up shields of protection so that my work is not, so that you don't misinterpret things and go justify or go in the wrong direction. Because otherwise it would be like pure masochism. Like, let me walk on glass and walk on hot coals, and bad things can happen to my feet and that will make me great. No, please do not. In fact, everything about, wait, let me drink superfood here. Everything about this guidance that comes from this beautiful abstract teacher is radical love, radical compassion, meant to help keep you safe, meant to help keep you moving towards coherence and longevity so that you can keep going in your life, not to be stopped or diminished on your journey. I'm just going to read Joanne's comment very briefly while it's relevant. She says, I agree. God is a master at transforming negative outcomes into positive, but it's better to build upon positivity. Beautifully well stated. Thank you for that. I agree, because I feel God is an amazing artist and an amazing improvisational composer. And sometimes you're like, this music is going in a weird direction and I don't know what to do. And you have to kind of somehow find a way to turn what it is into something better. And that is what that is all about in the masterful artistry of our lives. So wait, I got through a lot of these things, the power struggles. So not a power struggle between the brow and the crown, beautiful, divine, perfect partnership that gives birth to a new reality. And so you can also see, as I'm making these really clear distinctions about what is needed in reality. If you're going to give birth to a new reality, you don't have to have it be full of difficulties or shark bites or injuries or things like that to overcome, because that will make you great. Just really, really big on that. You can actually create a really peaceful, prosperous, loving, comfortable, fun, adventurous, abundant experience that gives you all of these wonderful opportunities to learn and grow. So it's not just about overcoming hardship is what I'm trying to say. Okay, wait. So let me go. Now I'm actually switching pages, going back to the notes from 10 years ago. Okay, so you're most vulnerable when you're going from, if you've activated your energy, raised your energy metabolism up to the level of the brow, but not yet activated the level of the crown, which is that wonderful librarian that is also pure information, not given through an interpretive structure. And many, many people have had these either spontaneous or molecularly driven arisings that sometimes make them read the first page of the book of information of life, which says, I am Christ. And that is accurate. I am Christ. But then see spot run. When you get to the next page, it also says, and there are many, many, many other Christs. All these other consciousnesses are on their journey. And literally, Christ is consciousness itself on the journey, so that insight about who you are then becomes contextualized in the relevancy of the larger journey of consciousness. Okay. So it's really, really important to get information meaningfully and be able to perceive it and apply it to your life meaningfully. So unfortunately, when some people get to the level of Christ, they say, I am Christ, I'm the only Christ. They don't read the next pages of the book. And then it can also be used in order to justify behaviors that I would not consider to be Christ-like, that sometimes are about power abuse and being authoritative over others. So let's talk about this. Each chakra has an age, like an eon, an age of the world, not like an age of your life, like 16 or 17 or something like that. Age of the world. And so our human cultural development is right now coming out of the age of Pisces. So the age of Pisces, it's symbolized by a fish, and the Jesus Christ religion is symbolized by a fish. And it is also called the Piscean age, but this has nothing at all to do with pissing on. Piscean is just the name of the Pisces fish. And we are moving out of that age into the age of Aquarius. This is the lighthearted moment in my class when you can sing Age of Aquarius. Yes, show tunes are always in style. You can do it if you want to, guys. The age of Aquarius, these two ages of humanity are significant in terms of going over this threshold, that one is coming out of an age of authority and authoritarianism. Authority meaning, my back went up. I'm in charge. Do this posture. I'm in charge. I'm in charge over you. You, and you will listen to me. And moving into a state of personal authority where you say, I listen to my inner guidance. I'm in charge of me. And I follow what I know to be the direct and correct pathway for me to return to God. And so we're coming out, these are different social dynamic states, different religious and spiritual levels of attainment. When it's wintertime, wear your puffer jacket. All right. You need to stay warm. It's wintertime. When it's summertime, please wear your bikini. Don't wear a puffer jacket to the beach. Even though I'm joking, in California, people do that when it's 65 degrees because they think that's cold. But anyway, when you are in a certain level of spiritual maturity or human cultural development, it might be appropriate to listen to an external authority figure. So over the past 2,000 years, that external authority figure might have been your mom, your dad, a teacher at school, a priest, a pope, a king, someone external to you, or some power structure external to you, or a set of rules external to you that says, hey, you, listen to me, do what I'm telling you to do, and I'll send you in the right direction. Puffer jacket for the winter. But when we actually awaken this inner guidance system, it is then appropriate to listen to your inner guidance system. So let's say that there's an external authoritarian dietary regime or regimen that is made for everyone that says, on this day, you will only eat legumes. And on this day, you will always eat fish. And then on this day, nothing but tomatoes and basil. And you're like, okay, that sounds great. But then you get your awakening in here and you're like, no, actually on this day, I'm supposed to eat something totally different. That is what's right for my bio-unique metabolism even though it goes against the dietary regimen that has been laid out that humans have followed for thousands of years. You must follow your inner guidance, because then you're at the beach on a summer's day and you have to wear a bikini. We are transiting out of the human cultural age when humanity has not had very much clear, direct vision. It's been appropriate to follow the recipes from the recipe book. It's been appropriate to follow guidance from something external that kind of keeps you on the road, even though it's not an individuated nutritional plan that tells you like you need 3 molecules of turmeric, and then you're going to have to eat, whatever, the beet salad with goat cheese and walnuts, and then you'll get everything that you need for your particular body. Are you guys all getting hungry? I'm definitely getting hungry when I talk about these things. You must follow your inner guidance, because that is the true master teacher inside. So like I say, with abundant love and respect and adoring recognition of the teacher that was here 2,000 years ago, that brought great inspiration, great light into the world, and a series of rules or dietary recipes for what you should do and how you should live your life. That is wonderful for that time. And that also represents an externalized authority figure. And it also represented an enormous amount of strife, as many, many people claimed authority over others. Tons of duality, tons of war, tons of I'm in charge. Remember my posture here. I'm in charge. I'm telling you and you what to do. And that can even be within families. Mom and dad are telling you what to do, or whatever, different husband and wife are fighting with each other about who's telling who what to do. Now let's contrast with the age of Aquarius. In this age that we are on the cosmic threshold, which can take decades to get across, like very, very slowly stepping through the door. As you are stepping into the age of Aquarius, that is coming into self-directed ownership of your own inner guidance, inner perception, and the unique journey that you must be on, just like your unique dietary requirements for profound health and longevity, the life structures of what you do. This is basically like a religion can give you guidance about how to be a good person. It's valid guidance, but it's not a one-size-fits-all off the rack type of information shirt. You need to have a customized shirt, because maybe your arms are longer than someone else's long arms, or maybe your chest is bigger than someone else's chest. And so the off the rack doesn't fit you. So you can also start to see now, again, if I go beyond my defensiveness about justification systems, and if I just go into the pristine teaching, you're like, yeah, we all have different lives. We all have different nutritional requirements. We all exemplify greatness differently, and we need different guidance in terms of what are your personality structures? Who are you as a person? What do you need to learn in order to learn and grow? And the idea of having this internalized coach or master teacher that is going to tell you, like, look, you need to build your abs up. You need to get core strength going. You need to work on your hamstring strength. Like, these are like your personalized weightlifting goals for spiritual weightlifting. So because what it takes for you to be a good person must be unique to you and to your journey, and also comes within your own unique cultural and social paradigm. You're not in a contextless vacuum. You're with a lot of other people and with a lot of other creatures. Because we can get to this, like those rules were written 2,000 years ago, or maybe 5,700 years ago. And then when I go to the store today, how do I be a good person at the store today? Like, should I buy these bananas? Should I buy these tomatoes? Should I buy these papayas? Like, but this one's been sprayed, but this one hasn't been sprayed, but this one came on a truck, but this one flew on a plane. Like, I'm joking, because there was a TV show that was all about this, like the judgments of heaven, and be like, you bought that person roses. Yes, but the roses came from Mexico and they were sprayed with pesticide and all these things. And so your points went down. You're like, I just wanted to bring them flowers, wanted to do something good. I had good intentions, but it all went horribly awry because of the complexities of our modern world. That is the big lesson in terms of receiving a personalized nutrition and coaching guidance from inner Christ that tells you how to be a good person, not only within this cultural paradigm, but moment to moment. What you are really trying to do is paint a perfect picture of reality. See the model, perfectly remember that face of what a perfect reality looks like and paint it in partnership with Christ. So this is very big because there are many, many schools of inner manifestation. And it's funny, on some of my YouTube videos, the advertisements come up. They're like, manifest your dreams, win a contest, get more attention from the opposite sex or from the same sex, get more partners, and then also make more money. And those are the motivations for some people who want to begin to awaken their reality creation mechanism. They're mostly like survival and lower chakra stuff. But I want to give you the motivations. Spine went up from the highest level chakra, which is to paint a perfect picture of reality, that it's not arbitrary. Like who you're supposed to, you don't just want to get like anybody. You don't just want to marry anybody. You don't just want to get more boyfriends or girlfriends. You want to be with the right person. The right person. You don't just want to get more sales at work and more money. You want to earn the right money. You don't just want to go on a vacation or like, a cruise or whatever. You want to go to the right places, interact with the right people, have meaningful experiences. There is a very clear organizational principle to the tapestry so that you get a pretty picture on the front. These causality structures actually are made by a super genius that is named God. And that super genius is non-arbitrary and invites you to participate in this non-arbitrary reality. And that is everything that I teach about spiritual attainment, that you go through all of these levels. I say that it's like, from the lower chakras in your pelvis spiraling upward, but really you should begin thinking of it not as a linear journey, but as a metabolic journey. Like kind of like your bicycle is starting off in this gear, then you get revved up and you're in this gear, and then at a certain point, like you are superluminal, you are faster than light, you're at that level because it's in every single cell of your body. So it's like, oh, I got up to the heart chakra, I'm activating my shoulders. Like, no, that's not it. That's not it, because your heart chakra exists from your head to your toes. Your Christ chakra exists from your head to your toes. The linear model is a model and a diagram, but please understand that this is not a ladder or a staircase that you literally climb up, but what you are doing in your levels of inner metabolic increase in your own speed and in your own energy and in your own light that you have inside of you is get up to these levels where you are a divine, co-creative, conscious participant in ingesting and emanating perfect and divine reality structures. So as I said, ingesting, I realize that's a big thing for me to emphasize here, because this Christ chakra is your aperture that you use to ingest light. Path of light, Saturday morning class, you're eating photons, but you're not just eating random arbitrary photons. Here's just a good, not thought experiment, but a wonderment. Like here's my window. If I go outside, don't stare directly at the sun, but if I look up at the sun, the beams of light that are coming from the sun and that are hitting my eye, these are non-random. These are non-arbitrary. The sun is actually like, aurora is there, 93 million miles away. I'm going to send these little pieces of myself to that set of eyeballs, and they're going to go inside of me, and they're going to have a particular impact in terms of not only illuminating or giving me information about the world around me. Like I see stuff is here, but in feeding me on my journey. So we've gotten to inner Christ as the guide, because it's going to guide, inner Christ will guide you through various series of events. Inner Christ will also feed you with intelligence, which is information, which is data, which sustains you. And so now I have to just do a little bit, I'm switching back and forth between my notes over here, a little bit, like I said, not want to focus undue attention on here, but you have to recognize that there are errant signals that are in our world right now. There's false light. That would be like considered stuff that is not edible on your plate. So I love Japanese food and the Japanese culture. When they bring something to you, like at the sushi restaurant, everything that is on your plate is edible and it's all beautifully arranged. Like here's your chopped up pieces of your nori roll, and then here's your little thing of wasabi, and here's your little thing of ginger, and you can eat literally everything on your plate is edible. This is very, very different than if you go to a certain restaurant, no offense to these types of restaurants, but they bring it to you, it's a fish with bones. Like, here's a whole grilled fish. Oh, actually, one time I did go to a place. It was not a restaurant. It was kind of like fresh seafood, just kind of like being grilled over coals, like right there. And then they just give you the whole fish. It's a beautiful experience, actually, a very, very in tune way of eating an organism. But you have to recognize that's a fish with bones. You cannot eat everything that is handed to you. You must be selective about what are the nourishing aspects and what are the things that are totally non-nourishing. What are the things that will literally like destroy you as you're trying to eat them? They will get stuck in your throat. We live in a world right now that is a fish with bones. And the bones are these things that are part of the frequency world that are non-natural and non-nourishing. I just will name them briefly. There's the 5G and Bluetooth and Starlink satellites and so many technological signals that are in our world. And this is what we face right now in terms of being a spiritual aspirant. That was not something that was not faced, a challenge that was not faced 2,000 or 5,700 years ago. And we have the spiritual muscles to be able to face these challenges. We are great. Sorry, loud noises outside. We are great to begin with. You are greatness to begin with. The challenges do not make you great. You rise above them and achieve your Christhood in spite of those challenges. So in spite of the many, many, many distractions, errant signals, and then there is even intentional antichrist signals, which would not even be the sense of just a random passing thing that happens to come through your mind, but something that is specifically beamed into your mind. Like, oh, are you an awakening Christ? Let me beam a bunch of false light directly into your mind. Not me, of course. I'm facetiously personifying someone else who would have some very malevolent intentions to suppress or delay or perhaps even eradicate you on your journey. Got to recognize that that's what's going on right now. Joanne says, fish with bones is a great analogy. Thank you very much. So I try to be very neutral in everything that I teach about. And when I recorded this class 10 years ago, I used as the example, little baby sea turtles, that you as awakening Christs are like these little baby sea turtles. Mama sea turtles, they lay like a patch of like maybe 100 eggs on a beach. And then the eggs all hatch at the same time. And first of all, you have to be like, like I'm breaking out of my egg. And you're like, I broke out of my egg. And I'm not alone. There's all of these other little tiny creatures that are very similar to me. And they've also broken out of their eggs. Get it? The page 2 of See Spot Run. You're not the only Christ. And then you're also like, okay, I'm broke out of my egg. I'm alive. Where am I? What's going on? You're like, I got to get over there. I'm over here on the beach. I got to get over there. I got to get to the ocean of consciousness. And as I'm crawling along like a baby sea turtle, there's all of these seagulls that are like, pow, pow. I'm trying to make a seagull sound, being silly, trying to eat the little baby sea turtles. That is part of the way that things are set up, even though, again, I don't want to justify it, but we will just acknowledge that there are some perils to you as a little new consciousness, just breaking out of your egg of consciousness and emerging into this amazing world of light and pure information and data. There are some perils. And that the whole idea is the little baby sea turtles are trying to get to the ocean. You get to the ocean, you get to have this amazing experience of being free. But during that initial birth period, vulnerability, all right? You got vulnerability. That's what the planet is going through right now. An amazing awakening is happening in our whole planetary structure, in you as an individual, in the people around you. And some people are getting picked off by seagulls. Kapow, kapow, I'm going to eat you. But what it is more a sense of a diminishment or delay of their journey, confusion. When you eat false light, it is like eating something that is an untruth that brings you possibly in the wrong direction. Joanne says, I totally associate with the sea turtles, and is laughing. I know, I agree. I want those baby sea turtles to make it. I'm like, go sea turtles, go. We can do it. Absolutely. And there, of course, there's strength in numbers. But I'll also go a little bit dark, because on our world right now, there's actually an agenda to eat all the sea turtles. and have no one be a Christ, and have no one make it to the ocean of consciousness. And literally, if I grab my lasagna sculpture, that is a big part of why I was motivated to backbend into reality in this time place as a walk-in, along with many others. There are many other Christs who are also here on a journey and on a mission, and we work together in order to make sure that there's going to be a graduating class. You got it? So that is, and I get chills as I say this, which are confirmation chills. There must be a graduating class, and that so what is Christ? Also just extemporaneously, not even part of my notes, but Christ is a network. Christ is a network, and we take care of each other and we love each other profoundly. When I talk about this, like, like you are marrying a partner, in our world, we mostly are focused on like monogamous heterosexual love. And that is very beautiful and that is appropriate biologically. But please understand, in the cosmic sense, when you are married to Christ, you are married to a multifaceted individual. Multifaceted in the same way that an insect's eye or a crystalline structure has many facets, a bejeweled, larger consciousness that is so amazing, beautiful, loving, compassionate, and complex. You are every single one of those facets, or there's a primary ray of consciousness that is then being refracted and split up into these many, many, many different faces. So you're me. And you're Melissa, and you're Joanne, and you're Marie, and you're Charlie B, and you're Trish. I named the people that are at the top of my screen. And also I love all the people that are catching the archive and that are watching this later. I just don't see your names right in front of my eyes right now. All of those people are you. And this is another vulnerability that happens when the sea turtles first hatch. They're like, I just got out of my shell. I was in that shell for a long time. I thought I was the only one. Now I'm out here. I'm not the only one. I'm you, and I'm you, and I'm you, and I'm you. But you got to make sure that you're saying I'm you, and like the other baby sea turtles, not I'm you to the seagulls that are trying to eat you. That's a big one. What do you identify with as self? And so there's a peril in the way that some people are doing what I, paintbrush. I paint with a big brush, new age shadow work. If you're doing new age shadow work and you're like, everything is God, everything is me, very SpongeBob face, and being a little bit silly and facetious, but not the seagulls. The seagulls aren't actually you, because you shouldn't be like, seagulls, like, let's hug, because they're gonna eat you. All right, that's it. So the baby sea turtles should be identifying with each other. You should see yourself reflected in the other Christs that are here on their journey, not on the antithesis obstacles that are things that you are trying to overcome and supersede. Wait, so let me go to this. Let me go to this. This is this image. I use this one a lot, and I use this for very good purpose, because so here you can see the structure of the Christ crystalline chakra that is at the level of the larger face, the figure that is at the center here. But then you can also see, where's my cursor? I don't know where my cursor is on the screen. This happens sometimes. Like your cursor gets lost. You're like, I can't see, I'm squinting. Anyway, I will describe it with my voice. At the center of this sketch, there is like a big circle that represents the source, or the central divinity point. Oh, there we go. There's my cursor. I'm wiggling my cursor over the central divinity point. And then you can see these smaller anthropomorphic human figures kind of with their heads inward towards the source, which is the sun. And there's a lot of analogies between the sun in our sky and the name of the Son of God as it is personified in the Christian religion, this emanator of light that is at the center of the place where your brow and your crown chakra intersect. All of these other figures that are kind of diving into or emanating from or are in a stellated array around that central point of light within one mind. And this is a visual representation. This painting here is a visual representation, drawing, I should say, of the very real spiritual truth that when you are in Christ, you are one facet of a multifaceted, larger, overarching being. That your journey is congruent to and influencing of and influenced by the journey of these many other beautiful Christs on their journey. And that you also will, when you achieve levels of transcendence and divine union, your success translates outward and affects them. It is reciprocal. Everything that's happening is reciprocal. This drawing really says a lot, because it says a lot about both the strength and the vulnerability of the system. When you are in Christ and you are on that beautiful Christ network, you are significant, and everyone else who is a part of that Christ network is significant, and you're not going to leave your brothers and your sisters behind. You're definitely not only looking out for number one, like I jokingly chomp on the cigar in some of my teachings here. Hey kid, I'm looking out for number one. I ain't got time for you. Not like that at all. That this is really a loyalty to the Christ network. When you marry Christ and you have this awakening, you are loyal to and in love with not just one partner, as we usually think about it in the human psychosexual dynamics world, which is appropriate, and tribalism, which is family, which is appropriate, but you must expand that to a cosmic level of love where you love that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, all these people across time, other organisms that are not even human, other time places where you might not have a human-shaped face, that all represent many, 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 many multiple facets of you, of Christ. P.S. spoiler alert, this Christ being that is so wise, so loving, so compassionate, so magnificent, and so great is you in the future. You are in your levels of development, going through these different stages from baby sea turtle into this larger expanded wisdom creature or organism that is beyond human. You become something more than merely human. And being human is great, and the teachings of human teachers are great and wonderful, and they give us guidance for the human level. But when you get up to this level of pure abstraction and pure math, you are moving beyond merely the human level, and you are part of this entire ecosystem of consciousness, ecosystem of light, and you are devoted. That's the word. Your devotion to Christ is a devotion to more than one anthropomorphic figure that has a face, two arms, and two legs. You are devoted to a network of consciousness that expands across time, across multiple timelines, across multiple parallel dimensions, the entire tapestry of consciousness and reality that has this Christ network of causality and love and greatness and compassion and mercy woven throughout it. That's who you are really marrying and aligning with when you become a part of that. So there is reciprocal loyalty and devotion, meaning like, baby, like I am totally devoted to you and you are totally devoted to me, and I ain't letting go no matter what. That's it. That's it. And so you can be secure in that right now in your own journey here on this planet, even as there are obstacles to ascension, even as there are seagulls that might try to stop you on your journey, even if there would be some kind of a plan or plot or effort to completely eradicate all of the baby sea turtles, like not even one would make it. Please know that you have an enormous, coherent family of light. That is Christ. That is like, baby, I am committed to you, and I am not going to let anything bad happen to you. I'm not going to let you go. You're not going to get lost. You're not going to get eaten. I'm going to make sure that you make it. And that's big. And when I said anything bad happened to you, I know that you guys all heard like, but wait, what about the causality factors? And what about this? And your mind started saying all these different things. And it says, even if bad stuff tries to happen to you, we're going to get through it together. We're going to overcome it. Even if a shark bites off your arm, you're not going to die. And we're going to make sure that you get back to surfing and everything that you love to do in the ocean anyway. You get it, guys? That is what this level of commitment and loyalty and devotion is about on a cosmic level. And that is what this journey is about. Yeah, big love back to you, Joanne, just giving us beautiful like hearts in the chat. And I hope that you really feel that on every level. Coming from me, it is part of my devotion to all of you as Christs, that you are on your journey, and I am going to very faithfully paint these paintings, speak these words of truth as truthfully as I can, and share this information with you to help you get across that perilous time from breaking out of the egg to get to the ocean of consciousness. And when I say the word faithfully, like I'm doing this kind of mixing up my part 1 and part 2, because I'm talking about non-religious Christ consciousness, really a separate teaching from anything that is affiliated with the Christian religion. Faithful to me means being faithful to the model of reality. When I go up to look at the model of reality, I laboriously climbed up the stairway and looked at what the model looks like. Hold on a second. Oh, you know something? I thought it was one of you guys rustling. It's my dog underneath the table. Sorry. I didn't mean to blame you. When I look at what the model of reality looks like up there, then I remember it, imprint upon it, and I get back down to my easel, literally, and start to draw and paint that. I'm trying to do a faithful reproduction. So faith sometimes is considered to be like a believing in, even in the absence of information. I can go to faith my way through it. Like your faith sustains you. That is very beautiful and very valid. I'm using the word in a slightly different way. Something that is faithful and true, like the way that you measure something that is a straight line or that is a 90-degree angle. It remains faithful and true to the architecture, to the blueprint. That is what I do in terms of seeing this information, having it come into me, being able to internalize it, and then being able to share it as truthfully as possible. And my challenges of painting it with the paintbrush are like, how steady can I hold my hand? Like, how skinny can my paintbrush be? How can I get these colors to be exactly right? That is an easier challenge for me than the challenge of the laborious flapping of my moving mouth parts, which is languaging, which I think is an inherently distortive form of communication that can make it very challenging to get across these pure insights. So you can sense when I'm speaking, like I really choose my words carefully. I've worked really hard to be able to figure out the choice of words and the choice of analogies that I use. And then I also do a lot of, Ellie's in this class. She said, Aurora, you're always so defensive and you're always saying like, it's not this and it's not this and it's not this. And it's just exhausting. And I love that feedback. And I wish I didn't have to be so concerned about misperception through the world of words. I'm very aware of how words can be taken, twisted, distorted, ideas cherry-picked, and to be weaponized in some way, to be able to make it seem like you're saying one thing, but when you're actually saying another. And that is the peril of getting up to the level of anthropocentric seeing, but not yet at the level of pure abstract perception and unfiltered interpretation. So with words, I struggle a little bit more for the levels of exactitude that I feel so comfortable in the world of math. This is me in the world of math. I'm doing the backstroke. I am swimming. I'm so comfortable. Math is awesome. 1 is 1 and 3 is 3. And 1 + 3 = 4. And there's no arguments about this. But then when we get into things about like this morning, when I started to attenuate to a real estate sign and think about real estate agents and think about real estate in general and think about particular real estates in my neighborhood and all these things, that is not 1 + 1, 1 + 3 = 4. Very obviously, there's a ton of room for interpretation. You got it? And this is true. Joanne says, words have been inverted and can cause misperceptions. I appreciate your integrity and attention to words. Thank you very much. And I appreciate that recognition. And I want you guys also to know I'm always giving out the telepathic email blast, even while I'm giving you words, like as I'm teaching all of these classes in my videos, because you are in consent, you are consensually tuning into me. And that's another part of the teaching from today. True telepathy is done on a bridge of love, true unconditional love, and true unconditional love must be done in consent. When you marry someone and when you really choose that level of partnership, must be consensual, cannot be forced. It cannot be any one of these fairy tales where it's like, you're going to marry me, right? Like, I'm gonna make it happen. And I'm making a maniacal face as I'm doing this and kind of like, twisting someone's arm. Can't be that way. And that's why when I come here as Aurora, I offer to you Flying Rainbow Lasagna in consent. I'm like, would you like some lasagna? Do you consent to lasagna? Would you like to be telepathically interactive with me? If you would, then just please be on my telepathic email list. And then when I do all these teachings, I will include your mind. I will connect my heart and my telepathy to your heart and your telepathy. And I will give you this information without the intervention of words, just the pure impulses. So please know that I give the pure impulses to those who are in consent, because I am a very valorous, noble, righteous type of extraterrestrial. I would never force this on a planet, on a person, or on an organism. I would always, and because you know why? That is not the level of relationship that has longevity and coherence. That is not fun. It doesn't feel good to anyone. You cannot create a real long-lasting friendship or relationship that starts on a lie. You can't do it. You can't do it. You got to meet in the right way. And you have to meet and be able to say, like, this is who I am from the beginning. When I first, I'm drinking, now I'm like relaxing and I'd be like, let's talk, everyone. When I first came here as Aurora, I was totally, quote unquote, out of the closet about being an extraterrestrial, extra dimensional walk-in visitor from the very beginning that I came in. Okay. And I hope from my facial expression, you can sense that I have some very funny stories, some of which are funny, some of which are funny, tragic, about me being so very open to people not really expecting or knowing what to expect, sometimes facing rejection, sometimes facing, what would I call it? Sometimes causing turmoil with my profound levels of honesty and authenticity. Got it? And then, of course, it just took me a little while to find my tribe. And now I have wonderful student body, wonderful people. I'm in profound gratitude for the people that gravitate and attenuate to me. They're like, yes, we want to be a part of you. But it just took a little while of my radical honesty to be able to find the people that are into it. Just like I say this, like if you created a restaurant and it only served spicy foods, you have to be like, my restaurant serves spicy foods. I'm looking for people that have that palate and are interested in that. If you have digestive problems or are not able to tolerate spices like that, you don't want to eat at my restaurant. So that is how I have cultivated my relationships with human beings here in this planet, on this time place. I'm like very, very honest and open about being a galactic walk-in and being an otherworldly visitor. And if it is unpalatable or somewhat distressing, then I'm just like, thank you very much. I'm sure you're a good person or whatever, but just not the restaurant for you. And there are many different flavors and many different types of restaurants and many different types of teachers that are here to help uplift and guide people in this time place right now. So that there's not a need for just one flavor to be out there. But why do I do that? Because wouldn't it be so much easier to just go along and get along? Wouldn't it be so much easier to just pass? You know what they say, like to pretend and be perceived as, be like, yeah, like that's not an otherworldly visitor. Like that's just another regular human. Like let's kumbaya, let us have some beers together or something like that. And I'm like, that would be a level of dishonesty that I feel like if I then, after 5 years of being friends with me, kumbaya, and you thought that I was just a regular person, and then at 5 years later, I say, we've been friends for a long time. It's time for me to actually say, I'm an otherworldly visitor, and this is my true mission, and I'm actually flying rainbow lasagna. And people might be like, you know something? Why weren't you honest here? I'm angry and defensive. Why weren't you honest about that? And why weren't you this and that? And then that says, if you're going to hide that from me, maybe you're going to hide something else from me. And what else is lurking in your closet? And that I didn't even make a calculation in coming here, because we don't calculate where I come from. We literally just be, because where I come from on the higher dimensional levels, you can't hide stuff. The idea of hiding stuff is ridiculous. It's like hiding something from someone who has X-ray vision. You know, like Superman can like, Superman would never do it because Superman is a good person, but Superman can see through clothing. So the idea of being like, oh, like I better like put on this thing, and that way, you know, no one will like you're not really hiding anything. Like it is very evident who you are. I know someone's laughing, but Superman is a good person and would never use their X-ray vision just for purposes of like sexual gratification or being a peeping Tom or anything like that. Like Superman is very, very righteous in the way that they use their X-ray vision. But that is what it is like actually at the level of higher dimensional galactic society. And where I come from, you do have X-ray vision, and you can read and see the totality of a person and everything that they've been through and everything that they've ever seen or said or done. Think about that. That is the book of you. Every single thing that you've ever said or done, and every single experience that you've ever have an imprint of is there written in the book of you. And that with true seeing, I call it actually reading. If you are literate, so I should actually teach you this. When your Christ chakra is activated or awakened, and also especially when you are also in tune with God, you are able to see, and you begin to be able to read. And then this is just like your levels of development in being a human child. Analogy, you're a human child, you're born into a body. Initially, you have eyes and eyeballs. The eyeballs open, they look around at a bunch of signals that don't make sense to you. Initially, you don't have a system of perception and interpretation. You're like, here's a giant blurry shape. Here's something. I don't know what's going on. It takes you at least a year to be able to figure out, make a cohesive picture of the world based upon what your senses and your eyes are even giving to you. Then with most children, it takes several years of being able to understand phonetic language. Like, that's my name. Someone just said my name. Or, someone said the word cup, and then they gave me this thing, and then something went in my mouth. And now I know that that stuff comes out of a cup and it goes in my mouth. To being able to go to school where you learn your ABCs, the beginning of this word cup, and then be able to actually read for the very first time, to read and be literate. CUP spells cup, and that is the stuff that mommy and daddy put in my hand that makes whatever juice go into my mouth. Same exact thing is happening with you right now with your light body, because Christ is light. Christ is light. Christ is consciousness. You have a giant ball of consciousness in the sky. It is a giant ball of Christ light in the sky. All right. Your light body is just beginning to wake up and awaken. You're cracking out of your egg. You're getting out of the shell of physical reality, which is matter, maternal, root word mother. You're getting out of that level of gestation. And initially you're like, I have all these senses. Something is going on. I don't know what's going on. And we joke about this, and that's fine. Fine to be an infant of consciousness. And what will happen in terms of your inner development is, at a certain point, you develop a system of perception. You're like, that blurry shape is actually someone's face. That's a person. I know there's something there, right? And then you also develop a sense of making sense of the patterns, because something always happens. First, I see that face, then I hear this noise, then something goes in my mouth. Like, these are patterns that you begin to understand. And then at a certain point, you begin to recognize the symbolic structures that are talking about these patterns, like the sound cup, and associate them with your senses. And then at a certain point, you become literate, meaning you can read a person. So what that means is, through your inner eye, this is for you right now, a guide and a teacher and a library card of the cosmos that you use to read information. This is also what I always tell you guys, your tendril of attention. You reach out with your tendril of attention, you touch on things, and you learn about things. And you learn about things by questing with your mind, questing questions. I wonder about this. I'll touch on it and think about it. I wonder about this. I'll touch on it and think about it. As I send out the questing tendril of my mind, I touch on this and I think about this, 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 and this. Okay. And then you you develop a picture of reality that is based on those questings, and you're also ingesting tiny amounts of it. I faltered because I also realized I had to speak to, what about if you grow up as a child, your first year of development in an impoverished environment? What if you're born in a war-torn place? There's shrapnel everywhere, you know, constant bombardment, constant barragement. You're like, first I see a blurry shape, then I hear bombs exploding, then juice goes in my mouth. You calibrate in a erroneous way. Understand that you're growing up under spiritual warfare. Please understand that. Please comprehend and internalize that not 100% of the signals that you're feeling with your light body right now have to do with the regular, ordinary levels of development that you would as a person awakening and coming into your Christhood. So you have to, at a certain point, recognize like, oh, that stuff is inhibitory signal. That stuff is stuff that's trying to distract me or hold me back. And then focus on the real face and learning your name and learning about focusing entirely upon the things that really matter. So that's what I try to focus on in my teachings, and especially in the path of light. And that's what I do in my daily meditations. I'm like, oh, crapola. Don't focus on the crapola. Focus on the true light of Christ. That is what I do in my life. I do it a lot with my music because I'm able to focus on melodies and beats and patterns that make music. And so that's a big part of it. I focus on my artwork, which again are these very regular patterns. And then when I drive around and I look at things and I do things, I meditate on and I focus on the concept of light itself and photons itself and the miraculous supernatural nature of light as it is in our environment and interacting with me. And in these ways, I'm focusing on the signal, blocking out the noise. And I'm telling you about this so that you don't, like as a beautiful open child, you should just be open to everything. You're in a war-torn civilization right now, where you have to recognize it would be ideal for you to be able to just be open and be open to everything, but you must be somewhat protected even in your beginning stages of development, because you do develop an energetic immune system, you do develop an inner filter, the Christ teacher within, and this whirling energy vortex also become filters. They become very, very active filters in the mature Christ of being able to block out signals that are errant, block out things that are not truthful, block out energies that are not nourishing. The fish with bones, like the bones don't come into you, but just the nourishment comes into you. But how challenging it is, I acknowledge how challenging it is to go through your early childhood levels of development in a world where there is so much confusion, so much noise, so little signal, and the noise can be so very prevalent that it can be difficult to know what to focus on. So my utter encouragement goes to you, my utter support and love and devotion goes to you at being able to help you like focus on this stuff over here, this stuff we acknowledge because we have to focus away from it, but it's not what we want to really spend the gas in our car on those things that are there. Brief page break. I drink coffee, and then let me also read and make sure that I've got going through my notes on the most important stuff. I got to the part in my notes where I read about imagos. I don't have the root word for it, so I'm sorry about that. So, but the imagos cells are the cells that give shape to a butterfly as it is emerging into its adult form, which is what you're doing as you crack open your egg of consciousness. Imagos, imagination, Christ, inner chakra. I have to get to your pineal gland because I haven't even talked about that as a structure. But this is the imagination, the part of the reality manifestation mechanism, where, as I spoke about, some of those more simplistic or earlier levels of development, schools of thought and teaching, manifest your dreams, manifest the man or woman of your dreams, manifest the job of your dreams, manifest the materialistic thing or object of your dreams. But you don't just want to manifest any old thing. Like if you are at the art school, if you are at the cosmic art school, you're supposed to go up, look at the model, and then create a faithful portraiture of that model. You know, there's all sorts of different faces and face shapes. And it's like, well, generally it has 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Like, get down, hey, kid, chomp on the cigar. Hey, kid, get down there and paint me a face. But this is not about any old face. This is not about any old reality structure. This is about creating very specific reality structures that help when they are done in causality structure with many, many, many other Christs who are manifesting reality, a beautiful picture of a unicorn. And it's funny that I use the tapestry and the unicorn from the cloisters, because unicorn and the horn that sticks out, it's an ancient symbol of Christ and Christhood. You're supposed to paint a very particular picture of reality, a non-arbitrary picture of reality. So it's not just about doing anything you want for yourself or imagining anything, because in a positive sense, and with children, we definitely teach them about this, you can imagine anything, and you can be it. And that's beautiful. And I like that a lot. But what we are doing is becoming mature, cosmic, galactic citizens here in Christhood, where we are envisioning very, very specific things happening for us and following faithfully these very, very specific patterns. And this is different than external authoritarianism that says you must follow this recipe. You must follow this recipe, otherwise you're a bad person. You must follow this recipe, otherwise you're a bad person, and you will burn in suffering forever. Like, no to any of those things. And also super loving, super supportive cosmic structure that allows you to first do a pencil sketch. You don't have to start with indelible ink. Don't start with Sharpie marker. So you're trying to create a faithful portraiture of the model of perfect reality that you see in the art school. When you get to your canvas, the first thing I've told you, don't whip out your Sharpie marker. You have to start with charcoal or pencil, and you make a rough sketch, and you think you get it pretty good, kind of stand back and look at it, run back upstairs, check it out, compare it in your mind, and then get back to your easel and then see, no, this part's not right at all. Erase this part. That's not right at all. I had that wrong. And then draw it better, do it better. So everything about my teaching style and about what the cosmos actually is, hugely loving, hugely compassionate, hugely encouraging. Not going to be like, you did it wrong, you didn't get it right immediately, that's it, like you're out of the school, I'm kicking you out of the school. No, that's not it at all. Really being able to give you the time that you need to be able to learn how to manifest your vision. So that's what I have written down here. Your imagination is literally the most powerful muscle you have on your body. When I'm faced with a challenge, I say, let me use my strongest muscle. Is my strongest muscle like my arm muscle, my back muscle? No, what is it? Usually I point to my brain. It is my mind, it is my imagination. So in reality, in terms of lifting reality structures, use your strongest muscle. It is your imagination. It is the most powerful faculty on your body and is the power to envision or see things that are not yet there in reality. That's big. It's so big you might have taken it for granted. Like, yeah, I see stuff that's not there all the time. Not every organism does that. It represents a supreme level of capacitation to be able to say, you know something, I don't yet see the drink or the cup that I want, but I imagine it. And then from that imagining and envisioning, I then go through the reality structure steps to boil the water, make the tea, put it inside, actually manifest it and drink it and make it happen. So these are wonderful capacitations and tools that are part of learning and growing on your journey. Your pineal gland, let's get into the mechanics of pineal gland. Your pineal gland is literally a manifestation machine. And that's why I'm not making fun of, but I am acknowledging these various different schools of manifestation. And these go back, some of them are pretty old, like think and ye shall be rich. Like these are different things that people have recognized. It's positive to know, like, wait, I can do stuff with my muscles. Yes, you can do stuff with your muscles, but what are the things that you should do with your muscles? What are the things that you should do with your manifestation machine? So you have a pineal gland that is inside of your brain. And I know Trish asked me for more of a close-up on this. This is, whoop, where did it go? Hold on a second. Oh my goodness, no, hold on. X this out. Now I'm going to squint and scroll. There's something down here. That's what I needed to bring up. Now I'm going to go back to this screen. Oh my goodness, guys. I know I make the squintiest, scrolliest faces here. Get it, do it. Here we go. Okay, so this is a screenshot from the actual recorded class. Good. And what I have kind of drawn here in the middle with the Merkaba around it, because you can and you should, and I encourage you to put a Merkaba or star tetrahedron of protection around your pineal gland itself, because that will help to block out some of these errant signals, and you will get across the beach, make it to the ocean of consciousness, because you're not going to get picked off by seagulls that are like, kapah, kapah, I'm shooting stuff into your pineal gland. So your pineal gland is essentially this very similar in an anatomical shape to your physical eyeballs. Your physical eyeballs has one optic nerve that comes off of the eyeball, but here you can see a branching structure that represents two nerves. Here you can also see a great simplification at the center of your screen of what is essentially a retina. You have retina cells, light sensitive or photoreceptor cells that are inside of your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is tiny. It is found in what is known as the midbrain, or the area between both hemispheres of your brain. So it kind of nestled within the cleft of the two hemispheres of your brain, where there are many other glandular structures. And it is a gland in that it emits three basic hormones. One of those hormones is called melanin. And melanin is the skin secretion inside of your epithelial or your skin cells that creates darker pigments to help block out light. Got it? Why, Aurora, block out light? Light is Christ and light is my friend. Light is Christ and light is your friend. But on a very, very hot summer day when you live in the equator, light is not your friend and you're going to get fried. So you have to have melanin in your skin. Melanin is produced and what is the word? I'm sorry that I'm searching for the word right now. It is emitted by little tiny aspects of your actual skin cells, but it is emitted in response to signals that come up here from your light sensor that is actually in the center of your brain. So you have two light sensors rather, on the front of your face. That makes sense. You're like, Aurora, that makes sense. I have two light sensors here because light comes in here, but light does not actually reach the deep interior of your brain. You're like, Aurora, this does not make sense. Why is there a light sensor in the center of my brain that tells my skin whether or not I should make pigmentation to protect me from excessive sunlight? And the answer is this anatomical feature is a vestigial outgrowth or trace of what is analogous in reptiles. You're like, Aurora, I'm not a reptile. That's it. I'm turning off this video right now and I'm running outside. There's no reptile. I'm not a reptile. We're joking. We're joking. There are evolutionary biological stages that humans have gone through that are also part of human genetic modification, including the brainstem, which is known as the reptile brain. Reptiles have a sensor on the top of their head that it's kind of like a scale that tells them when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. And it helps make it possible for them to effectively digest their food because they're cold-blooded and they need to eat their food and have the sun make their bellies warm and digest it during the day. You have different motivations for being able to sense when it is daytime, when it is nighttime, and what the light around you is doing. But please understand that sensing light is important to your healthy metabolism. Just because you have a vestigial trace evolutionary outgrowth of a reptile doesn't mean you're a reptile, because you also have your mammalian cortex and then your human cerebral cortex on top of that. And then you also have your Christ awareness on top of all of that, your more galactic, higher level, pure light being awareness on top of all of that. But you have this anatomy that is closely analogous to what reptiles use to be able to sense daytime and nighttime signals. And you also have no aperture on this pineal gland. Pineal gland is like an eyeball that doesn't have an opening at the front of it. So this makes sense. My eyeballs are on the front of my face and light comes into the front of my face and it goes into my eyeballs and eventually goes into my brain and my optic, the areas of my brain that interpret my signals from my eyes. I'm sorry if I'm not remembering that word correctly either. It'll come to me just long after the fact. And why does this, at the deep center of my brain, have receptors for light, but not an opening for light? And the answer is that this particular physical gland structure is stimulated by light, but by the light of pure thoughts. That is not light that is traveling physically in a linear direction. All of that just came out so convolutedly. I have to say it again, and I have to say a bunch of other things too. Okay, so this structure over here that's on the left in blue that looks like a big giant vortex in front of this person's face. This is a whirling energy field that is made as the end result of emanations that emit from the pineal gland. The pineal gland is a physical structure that you can see inside of your brain, even after you're dead and gone. You're dead, you're gone. We're going to cut open your head with autopsy tools, split open your brain down the middle like a melon. I'm sorry, I'm being very silly. And boom, there's your pineal gland. We can point to it. We can poke it with a stick. But you know something? After you're dead and you're gone, I cannot point to and poke with a stick this whirling energy field that is around your body, that is around your face, that represents this anthropomorphic interpretive structure, that is a structure of time that allows you to see and perceive time and light directly. This is like the projection that comes out of a movie projector, and your pineal gland is the movie projector. The projection that comes out of the movie projector is your interpretation of reality. Again, you have a bunch of signals and waveforms that are around you, swirling around you in the world. You don't actually have a wall in front of you. You don't actually have a floor beneath you. You actually have potentials and waveforms that you then, through your lens of perception over here, through your swirling anthropocentric energy form, interpret as a room, as physical objects, as structures, as events and other people. But that is an interpretive structure. And when you are no longer here and your DNA is no longer dancing and propelling you through time, you can have a corpse and physical cellular body that you've left behind, but you don't have this projection of reality. Your reality structure stops. The film ends in the film strip, and there are no more frames to move forward in time. And this is the projector that, quote unquote, the film strip of your life runs through and is emitted by. So your pineal gland is intimately related to your capacity to imagine and to project. The imagining comes from when little, can I draw on this? Little light waves here. Oh, here, good. Little light waves are now coming into your pineal gland, and these are actually thoughts. These little blue lines are not actually coming inward from your eyeballs. They are coming from someplace else in the form of thought structures. And these thought structures should be divine thought structures. They should be all of the thought structures that are shaped like the paintings behind me. They should not be shaped like, here, I'll choose a different thing and I'll say these red zigzags. These are 5G thought structures. These are Bluetooth thought structures. These are totally non-natural, non-divine pattern thought structures. That's some of what we are facing right now. So there should, when you awaken and come out of your egg, there should only be these wonderful blue undulative lines that stimulate your pineal gland, give you imagery, thoughts, behaviors, motivations, and possibly even voices. And then from there, you should emanate, oops, wait, let's choose a better color. From there, you should emanate a beautiful picture of reality emanating outward in waveforms. So you should have good food, good information, strong signal with clarity that comes into you in terms of coming into your pineal gland. And then as a result of that, accurate, strong, faithful rendition of reality structures coming outward. You get influenced to then create your manifestation event, all right? And that influence, again, should be divinely influenced, divinely ordained, divine intelligence, not something that is about crass commercialism or basically serving the ego, even though we have a need to buy things at the store or have cups to be able to put our drinks into or whatever like that, beyond mere survivalism and the necessities of life. Again, trying to create a faithful rendition of the divine world of pure paradise. You are supposed to paint with your pineal gland a faithful rendition of paradise. That's the model that's up on the top floors. A beautiful paradise that you look at through here. And that is what I paint here. And that you should then run down to your canvas, which is essentially when you open your eyes and come out of meditation, you're in reality. You should be like, now I'm going to make that beautiful image of life in the physical world happen with my thoughts and behaviors and my actions, with the projections of my reality structure, with my observership. I wanted to say a more convoluted thing. You project observership and create paradise reality structures. That's when there's a healthy, functional Christ chakra, healthy, functional, unimpeded activities of the pineal gland. Wait, if I scroll a little bit more. Okay, and then I'll make sure that I go through my notes because I have plenty of time today. Like I said, we did our WALK before class so that way I'm not pressed for time today. So hold on, wait. Sorry. Thank you for your patience while I scroll. Thank you again for your patience while I find exactly the thing that I'm looking for to say. Okay. Oh, I didn't get to that. Okay. What are the things that impede or lead to not fully functioning, not ideal reality structures being emanated from your pineal gland? Some of it has to do with frequencies that are coming into you, Bluetooth, 5G, blah, blah. Some of it is the food that you eat. So light is food. Ideas and thought forms are food. Physical food is food. Sandwiches are food. And what if your sandwich is made out of a bunch of genetically modified wheat? And what if it also is full of chemicals and preservatives and other things? These all, what if it's a fluoride sandwich? That's really going to diminish the functioning of your pineal gland. So food contaminant, genetically modified organisms, food contaminants, chemical contaminants and other pollutions of the atmosphere, certain pharmaceuticals, and definitely the chemical that we know as fluoride. All of these things diminish the functionality of the pineal gland. So this agenda that is culminating in this time right now that is anti-Christ is something that has actually been going on for a very, very long amount of time. Yes, it was easier to achieve Christhood at other times when our environment was more pristine and we didn't have these challenges. And also if you have a 5-pound weight, you're going to have a 5-pound muscle. The spiritual aspirants then had 5-pound muscles. You have to lift a 50-pound weight now. In order to be able to get to this level of aspiration and above, you're going to have to be able to lift 50 pounds. It's just the way it is. And that's what it takes to be able to get it across the beach and make it to the ocean of consciousness. Okay. So just be aware that that is what's going on. Just don't take it personally is what I'm trying to say. So certain things can inhibit your inner eyesight. You stay away from those things. Certain other things nourish your inner eyesight. What does? Sun gazing with the true sun. And when I sun gaze, I don't fry my physical eyes. I either go squinted eyes through the lashes, brim of a hat, curtains across there, or sometimes like a lacy curtain or something like that, filtered through trees. But sun gazing, eating light directly from the true sun, is essential for feeding your light body and awakening your inner eye. Yes, there are distortions in terms of chemtrails, and there are also distortions in terms of different lenses and arrays and things that either distort or defray the light of the true sun. But please comprehend that the light of the true sun is there. And yes, there's a direct analogy between the sun that I'm pointing to in this painting, the sun in the sky, and the phonemes used in human religion, the Son of God, meaning the offspring child of God. The sun is a portal for pure divine consciousness, the Son of God. And this is the light of truth that comes out of the Son of God. And we live in a time when even the light of truth that is the Son of God in the sky has been diminished or impeded in some way from being able to reach us directly. You can fly in rainbow lasagna, you can jump up and over. Please know that it is there. When you reach out with your tendril of attention, you reach out to the true sun. That is what matters the most. If you're like, Aurora, all of this sounds unfair, don't go into levels of, personal, feeling persecuted, even though things feel unfair. With your mind, with your questing tendril, make it very clear, I'm touching on the true sun. And that's where you get true information from. So sun gazing really helps. Pure food and water. I talk to you about my structured water all the time. You filter your water. You make sure it doesn't have fluoride and other gross crapola in it. Then you structure your water, because water is a crystalline structure. Water is a crystalline structure. And very, very briefly on what crystalline structured water is and what it does. So in your cells, you have your cell membrane, which is fatty and gelatinous. Then you have your aqueous stuff, the intracellular fluids. And you want to think, oh, like this fatty gelatinous stuff that's around the outside, that's what makes my cell shaped like a sphere, or, you know, gives it shape and structural integrity. No, no, Jello has very little structural integrity. It's kind of all jello-y and wiggly, right? It's the structured water inside of your cell that actually gives your cells of your body structural integrity and makes them stick together in a form that is what we would say is a crystalline form. Crystalline molecules, blah. A crystalline matrix is not like the matrix of Neo, that is like one of these consciousness reduction matrices that you don't like. It is a matrix that you do like. It is the regularity of form of atoms formed together into molecules and arranged in a very regular pattern that creates this beautiful, translucent, durable, multifaceted object. You, translucent, meaning you transmit light, durable, and multifaceted. That's you, multifaceted. You have many different personalities that are all arraying and converging inside of you, the many facets of yourself on this Christ network. So drinking structured water helps you to become a crystalline, structured person and being. So too does the substance known as ormus, O-R-M-U-S. Get it from a reputable source. I love the people at Dancing with Water. I love them and their products, and have had wonderful positive experiences from getting my ormus and also different water structuring stuff from there. So that's why I encourage you to check out their website. Their ormus, I think, is called bamboo salt, because basically, just very, very brief, as I'm trying to fit a lot of things into the last half hour of class, ormus is a substance that is created from superheated salt. Monks from Asia used to pack sea salt into hollowed out bamboo tubes that could then go into like a kiln, like a blast furnace, and get superheated. And when the salt gets superheated, it actually changes in its molecular structure and crystallizes in a slightly different way. And what I didn't tell you enough about your pineal gland and what this is relevant to is that you have tiny crystals in your pineal gland. Your pineal gland acts like a radio antenna transceiver. You both use it to send out signals to the rest of the world, and it is a receptive instrument that you use to perceive signals. In case you don't know, old-fashioned radios, when it was first invented, functioned utilizing vibrating quartz crystals, not big giant ones like this, but you could imagine crystals inside of the actual radio apparatus in order to receive and send signals. This is your radio antenna that is inside of your mind, and it is meant to receive signals from God, and it is meant to emit a perfect divine reality. So you have inside of there not only these eyeball receptor photosensitive signals that receive light and are stimulated by thoughts, but also these tiny, sometimes they are monoatomic, meaning one atom just floating there, monoatomic crystals, but sometimes they are made up of maybe one or two atoms. They're tiny, tiny, tiny microcrystals is what I'm trying to say. And that there are certain foods that you can eat that help your microcrystals to be healthy and functional. So fluoride does not help your microcrystals because it gets in there and it craps everything up. That's not a scientific word, but it gets in between all these crystals and things that you don't want it to be there. Turmeric and tulsi, which is also known as holy basil. These are two substances, and I'm sure there are many, many others that help too. It's called decalcify, even though it's not calcium. Take excessive minerals that you don't want, like fluoride, out of your pineal gland and leave only the tiny vibrating crystals in there that are supposed to be in there so you get a clear functional signal. You got it? And taking the superheated bamboo salt, which creates this substance known as ormus, the monks would eat the superheated bamboo salt and they'd be like, wow, my meditations are taking me that much further. I'm getting that much further on my meditations by taking these substances. So fast forward now, however many thousands of years, this information has been passed down to many different people. And now there's another way of being able to create the superheated salts. So the stuff from Dancing with Water is, like a little jar, and it's got like Celtic and Himalayan and all these different superheated salts. And then you drink a little bit like in diluted water. And I usually do it in the morning, and I highly, highly recommend it. But I also do that along with my structured water. And I do that after many, many years of spiritual weightlifting and personal self-cultivation. So I don't advocate for just like drink a magic potion and then you'll be active and activated Christ and everything is that easy. Like dust off your hands and everything is great. This whole idea of getting to the upper levels of being able to perceive in this way, it is about building your inner architecture, not achieving things in the short, easy fix, not just the short, easy, convenient pathway, but the sometimes more difficult, longer lasting pathway. So you really do the exercises, you really create the foundation of unconditional love, you really cultivate yourself to that level, you really clear out the signals and the things that are not supposed to be there, you really accrete light and nourish yourself with the things that are supposed to be there. And by the time you activate this and this as your Christ chakra up here, you have the wisdom of your attainment. So this is why I'm mildly critical of things like taking a molecule like mushrooms or DMT. I have to get into the substances that are emitted by the hormones that are emitted by the gland that's known as your pineal gland. Only mildly critical of them, not in the sense of some naughty judgment or anything like that, because it is like making a flower in a plant before you have an adequate root structure. So if you are growing something like a tomato, you have to have strong roots, then you have to have a strong stem, then you have to have a viable flower, then you have to have it pollinated, then eventually you have to have enough nutrients that feed that fruit in order to actually have a tomato, and your stem has to be strong enough to hold up the tomato so it doesn't drag on down on the ground, and many other things. If you're like, I just want the tomato, just skip directly to the tomato, please. Don't make me do all this other laborious building my root and building my stem and building all this other things. That means you're not going to really have a healthy plant. You're not really going to have a healthy fruit. Guess what? Your roots are your root chakra. Your root chakra means your physical body. You got to eat healthy, good food that's not genetically modified. You got to do physical exercise and keep your physical body healthy. And that also includes your emotional centers. I'm pointing to my belly down here, making sure your food and your guts and your gut health is all healthy too. And then you also have to build all of the other supportive integuments that bring you up to the levels of creating and activating this chakra up here. And you don't, in order to grow a tomato, you don't just be like, oh, great, that flower just got fertilized. Let's chop off the stem and forget about all that root stuff. You keep going. You keep going with fertilizing the roots. You keep going with having a strong physical body. So in order to aspire to these levels of inner seeing and direct inner perception, you have to cultivate your body. You have to keep your body healthy and fed and well nourished. And that this happens as the end result of many years of self-cultivation, is the attainment after many years. No offense or judgment on anyone. If you decided to take one of these molecules like mushrooms or DMT, and it was like, pew, like rocket ship upward, and then you saw maybe some of this stuff, or maybe you didn't break through fully into that level of pure abstract seeing. Maybe you saw kind of morphing imagery, morphing undulative imagery of like snakes or butterflies or something like that. Because that's what happens first. First, you see through the human interpretive structure, where you're like, yeah, I saw like snakes or butterflies or something like that. And then at a certain point, kapow, you break through and you're looking at pure empirical architecture. But no offense, like I do this without the use of artificial molecular molecules. Done all of these levels of personal attainment in order to be able to get there, have a strong root structure to be able to support the creation of flowers and fruit at the higher levels. All right. And so that's why I speak from personal truth. And I encourage you to do things in a way that is sustainable, because you want to be able to keep going. And that many of these molecules that are rocket fuel, it's not sustainable. It's not something you can do every minute of the day. It's not something I would even say you should do every week. It is something that maybe is something you should do a couple of times in your lifetime, but it's not practical or desirable to do every single day or every single week or on a regular schedule like that. Let's talk DMT. Wait, and I'm also reading your comments a little bit. Oh, Trisha was saying something very good about the pineal gland and the light coming in through reptiles' heads. Light controls your biological clock. Yes, huge thumbs up. Huge cheers for you saying that. Light influences and controls our metabolism in so many ways, even down to our mitochondria. Mitochondria being subcellular organelles that have everything to do with the release of energy from glucose, which is stored up light in your body. Thank you for allowing me to. nourish myself on the marathon as we keep on going. Your pineal gland is a gland. What is a gland? A gland is a part of your body that secretes hormones. Or what are hormones? They're little things that float around your body and they talk to your cells, and they make your cells talk to each other, and they make your cells do stuff. So I told you about one of the first things that your pineal gland emanates and influences in your body: melanin, dark pigment. And the dark pigment is the same dark pigment that makes brown eyes brown, brown hair brown, and that makes anybody not an albino. And albinos in my audience, I love you and you're beautiful and we love you. Just wear sun protection, because we recognize that your body doesn't naturally produce, it produces melanin, but not actually melanocytes. Albinos do not have melanocytes. And so they simply do not emit the melanin into their skin and into their protective architecture in the way that others do. You're still beautiful, valuable people. Pineal gland also emits melatonin. Melatonin regulates waking and sleeping cycles. And otherworldly visions and levels of higher dimensional perception have a lot to do with our daily waking consciousness, in contrast to our nighttime sleeping consciousness. That hallucinatory experiences and molecularly driven hallucinatory experiences can be very much described as dreaming while awake. The doorway or the partition between being awake and being asleep goes away, and you're kind of asleep while you're awake, and you are generating dream imagery and experiencing a dreamlike reality even when you are in your daily waking consciousness. What is flying rainbow lasagna? Something very, very, very similar, where your internal experience is externalized in your external reality. What is planetary ascension? Something very, very, very similar, where your inner world of feelings and passions and dreams and desires is instantaneously manifested as your outer world. And that's why we do all of this spiritual work and self-cultivation, to be able to consciously create and co-create. Where's my little paintbrush? Co-create and paint a faithful renditioning of paradise, not merely reverberative echoes of previous traumas that we've experienced. Consciously creating a beautiful reality with the paintbrushes of our mind. And the third, dun, 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 drum roll please, is DMT. The third hormone that your pineal gland creates is known as dimethyltryptamine, DMT. Many people smoke it recreationally as a doorway into infinity or a higher dimensional reality. Naturally occurring DMT is released at the moment when your spirit or soul or pure consciousness enters into your body as it is developing, gestating inside of your mother's womb. Got it? When your brain gets to a certain level of complexity in development at a certain number of months, you have enough architecture there for your DMT of your brain to actually be emitted. DMT is like a molecular doorway that you're like, now I can finally get into that avatar body that I've been gestating. Avatar, what does this mean? I talk about Jesus Christ, aka Yeshua. Jesus is the Anglicization or Greekification, I don't have the word for it, of the original Aramaic or Middle Eastern name Yeshua, like Joshua, a historical figure who existed as a physical embodied person roughly 2,000 years ago. That, oh my goodness, I hope I'm not losing my thought track here. Jesus Christ, referring to Yeshua. Oh my goodness. Don't worry, it'll come around back. Because my brain started to go a little bit too fast and I got a little bit distracted and fell off of my track. But please, thank you for your understanding, and it will come back. Doorways to consciousness, and when you enter into your body. So avatar, that's where I was going from. Jesus Christ, aka Yeshua Christ, is known as an avatar of Christ consciousness. Many of you people might know the word avatar from a movie that was done recently. Avatar comes from ancient Sanskrit. It comes from avatar, and that means one who has come across waters, a traveler from a long distance, an otherworldly traveler. And your physicality body could be considered your avatar form. So Jesus Christ or Yeshua is or was an avatar or a container for the consciousness that is the multifaceted, overarching, beautiful meta being that is Christ consciousness. He is not the only avatar of the world, of the ages. Again, not trying to blaspheme or to contravene anybody's deeply held beliefs. And I love you for your beliefs. The teachings of the Christian church say there is only one And that is him, and that the only pathway to salvation is through the respect and interaction and interrelationship with that particular human figure. But I will tell you that in the Hindu tradition, the god that is known as Krishna, Krisna, affiliated with the brow chakra, where the Brahmin caste often puts a bindi as a marker for what the third eye, pineal gland is, and the importance of that place of anatomy on the body, and is seen as a very elevated social caste level. Krishna, Christ, crystalline, same root words and same beautiful benevolence, same beautiful level of consciousness, different cultural paradigm, different avatar, different time, place in the world, that abstract consciousness came into a body, brought great teachings, brought great levels of inspiration and great levels of leadership. And I will also speak to the Iroquois tradition, a leader who is known as Daganoweda, and I cannot spell it, it is purely phonetic. But Daganoweda also was born of a virgin birth, a great leader of humans, brought peace, known as the, if you want to research that wonderful historical figure, Iroquois peacemaker, and also didn't die, ascended or transcended the world without actually leaving behind a physical corpse. So we're talking about people who enter into this world, avatars who enter into this world through semi-supernatural or supremely supernatural events, maybe not through traditional birth events, bring light, bring information, bring a message of peace, bring a message of human uplift and consciousness cultivation into the world, move human society along on its journey of evolution, and then transcend or ascend or evanesce in a way that transcends the traditional physical death. And I bring up 3 examples so that you know that there is Christ consciousness in multiple avatars, with the greatest respect that I have for people who are devout Christians, to recognize that this is a beautiful, multifaceted, there are many directions through which this divine truth comes, many, many, many different avatars or containers for this consciousness. You're very welcome, Joanne. And that being an avatar is similar to the ancient idea of the Greek hero was as a container for the gods. And I know gods, the Greeks were polytheistic, and I know that that is different than this sense of monotheism in Judeo-Christianity, but the sense of physical, corporeal, anthropomorphic form being a container for a larger level of divine consciousness. That is what I'm talking about when I talk about avatar. So your little tiny baby body gestating in your mother's womb is like your avatar body. It takes the release of DMT, the complexity of your brain being developed to the point of having a pineal gland and being able to emit DMT for you to dive into your body. And then traditionally, if you are not a recreational user of DMT, DMT is only released at one other time in the lifespan of your body, and that is upon physicality death. When you're getting out of your body, getting into your shoes and getting out of your shoes, and that's it. It is an amazing molecule. I definitely point you in the direction of a book and also an audiobook. I did the audiobook called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. I think it was by Rick Strassman. Definitely worthy scientific work if you like looking at things and learning about things at that level of intellectual pursuit. And again, I'm not an advocate, but I'm also not in judgment of taking DMT for its personal effects, but that is definitely like, here's a book, skip into page 272 of the book. You didn't read all the intervening things. And there's important narrative structure in the intervening 271 pages that you have skipped over. So if you skip to page 272, that's totally fine, and it is part of your journey. Please rewind. Please read pages 1 through 5 and then 35, 37 and onward. Please read all of those pages because they contain important information necessary for your development. And then also please comprehend that when you are getting to these levels of spiritual attainment, I told you, you can have a Lamborghini, but sometimes it's stuck in the driveway out of gas. That is also part of the journey, that it is somewhat presumptive to feel that you're always going to have time on the telescope. It takes a lot of energy to run this telescope. It takes a lot of energy to quote unquote grow tomatoes. And mostly your plant is focused on root energy, keeping your physical body alive, eating and digesting food, surviving in the world. And that this is icing on the cake. This is pinnacle of achievement. This is summiting Mount Everest. And it is a lot, really. Asking of yourself a lot, asking of the cosmos a lot, to expect it to be there like every day as a casual happenstance. And perhaps it will be that way in different levels of our reality as we attain different levels of reality. But for right now, please recognize it as an extraordinary event and treat it with all of the reverence and specialness that you should put into that. If you're booking time on the telescope and you have a certain amount of time to look at the world from that pinnacle of existence, please make the most of your time and please really soak it up. Like if you trudged all the way to the top of Mount Everest, you should be like, I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life. I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to soak everything. I'm going to look at the outline of every single mountaintop from here and look at the entire landscape and remember it all, because it's so meaningful and it's so important. And then you go back down and you get your pencil and your paper and draw it and paint it and make it as stuff that matters. And then you will climb that mountain again. And you, of course, build continual muscles by continually climbing that mountain. So, let's talk a little bit. This is big because I sent this out to Patron and also wrote this as auxiliary extra notes this morning. The concept of becoming a light eater or a breatharian self-sustainer and how that relates to Christ and Christ consciousness. Christ sustains us. Christ sustains us. This is what the allegory of the fishes and the loaves is all about. If you don't know the New Testament, this is a sharing in which the embodied Jesus religious figure and master teacher finds himself in a circumstance where there is only a certain limited amount of bread, but people are hungry, and only a limited number of fish, and he must feed many, many people. The fishes and the loaves are multiplied. It is known as one of the miracles of Jesus Christ. This is the allegory, non-literal translation of being able to eat pure light, being able to eat pure energy. In becoming a light eater, part of it is attenuating with your tendril of attention up to the sun, literally touching on the sun and receiving energy directly from there. Part of it is also a very special way of breathing in that I sometimes say it's like sniffing a rose. Like if you go to the florist or walk around rose bushes in my neighborhood, kind of like, I know I'm going to make funny faces, but like, you know, you kind of like you're really drawing in that scent, that aroma, directly up your nostrils, kind of breathing it in to this central point between your eyes, breathing it in on a deep, deep inner level. So when I do sun gazing, I send my tendril of attention to the sun and I breathe in that light. And the breathing in is also part of a breathing in of what is known as chi, which is life force, or prana, which is the breath of life. And when I remember ancient or concurrent Atlantis and my experiences and existence there, again, we were sustained not by physical food, although here I am totally at peace with physical food as I am being sustained by the beautiful substances that I have access to. I'm always in gratitude for being able to have good, positive physical food. But what we used to do is sustain ourselves purely on light or pure energy. Where's my plant? I jump up at least once per class when I have to talk about these things now, guys. I should just have my plant ready for me. My beautiful, beautiful orchid. And many thanks again to Lita, who gave me this orchid a long time ago, actually, now many months ago. Orchid's still doing great. We did not actually chomp plants back in ancient or concurrent Atlantis, although we did have beautiful, extensive, highly manicured gardens where you knew your plants and your plants knew you. This plant sits on the windowsill over there all the time, listens to me making my music, watches me painting my paintings, knows me, knows all about me, knows all about you, is very happy to, be sharing this experience with us. Beams green light at me and I beam my heart, love, and expression back to this plant. We sustain each other. And I don't chomp it with my mouth crystals. These are my mouth crystals. And your mouth crystals are made to be like radio tuners that are connected neurologically to your brain and that have a lot to do with your telepathy, which is always done on a bridge of love. We did not take other organisms, grind them up with our mouth crystals, and then ferment them in our tummies in order to sustain our bodies. Even though in my Path of Light curriculum, I share with you that that's an amazing thing to do, and is definitely evidence of a divine intelligence organizational system that helps to keep us going and sustains us here. It's a miracle that we are able to do that, and is quite positive and very good that we are able to do that. But that's not what we did in the original biological DNA and consciousness architecture of these bodies. This plant is emitting a song. Like, I can feel the song of the plant by being in its presence. I can attenuate to this plant. I can send out my tendril of attention. If I'm up on Mount Everest and I really wanted to, I can be like, I'm going to touch on that plant. I'm going to talk to that plant. We're going to have a direct sharing. And that, because that is literally what our lives were like in ancient Atlantis. Let me put this down here. Or concurrent Atlantis. Every moment was time booked on the telescope. We didn't have any time that it was limited. And yes, we would send out our tendrils of attention to these beautiful manicured gardens around us. We also stored light at night in giant crystal instructors. I want to say the size of your home refrigerator. Yes, sat upon giant crystals, bathed in crystalline waters, absorbed energy. But like I say, my piano can make music. I'll turn it on for you, even though it doesn't always show up on the Zoom when I play my piano. But my piano can make music. It's not turning on. Dun, 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 is what I want to play. Oh, there we go. Wait. I hope you can hear that music. My piano can make music, but I eat the music, but I don't actually eat the piano keys. And the reason for that is, you know something, if I eat the piano keys, I have one meal. Chomp, 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 it's gone. If I eat that orchid, I have one meal. Then it's gone the next day, then what I'm going to do the next day. But if you eat the energy, the music that is emitted from a crystal, a plant, another person, then you are sustained, and you can be sustained again the next day because they're emitting music the next day. It is a much more sustainable level of experience and mutual reciprocal nourishment than the physical eating, which leads to some levels of destruction, which is inherent in the challenges that we face after the genetic modification of our bodies. Dun, 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 dun. I want to talk to you about the challenges right now. You're like, Aurora, great. I want to become a light eater. Sign me up. I'm like, fantastic. Here's the thing. Light eating is a software program. For lack of a better word, I'm not a transhumanist, but it's not simply saying no more physical food for me. It's not simply a rejection of physical food. You must have the replacement for physical food, which is this food of pure energy. And you must also first ingest the light, that is information, data, or organized intelligence that tells you how this is possible and the way that it works. It's not just being like, I'm just going to somehow get light inside of me, like light, like come inside of me. It's an actual series of ideas and concepts that you must first ingest and internalize as truth, and which might be unique to your viewpoint, in order to know that it is possible to be sustained on pure light. So first you must have the structure of ideas invested inside of you, programmed inside of you as the architecture that then allows you to ingest light from your environment. And you must have light present in your environment. So we are in this world where it's actually very challenging for me. Like, I'm a light eater. I wanted to eat pure light throughout the whole entire time that I was here. And I'm like, I'm thirsty. There's not that much light here. I'm going to have to figure out how to eat regular food and drink regular coffee and water and things like that. Not complaining. I've been here for 21 years. I'm a hybrid, like a hybrid car. I use both gas power and electric power. So I do both of these things. Let's talk briefly about a couple of well-known beings who have sustained themselves purely on light. So there are a lot of stories that are from, I call it the Far East, but if you're in India or China or Singapore, it's just your neighborhood, which is why I try not to be so North American focused. But areas of Asia, yogis and masters that have done a lot of these self-cultivational practices where they, through breathing techniques, have been able to sustain themselves either on no food for a very long amount of time and not starve to death, or minimum amounts of food. So it might be like this many grains of rice, which is not enough to sustain an adult human. But that's all that they will eat each day, and that they are the rest of the time using breath and prana to sustain themselves. Or a really good example is from Germany in the 1940s. So this is kind of like a more modern era, and there are more modern era example, and there are examples, photographic evidences of this person, human being, actually existing. Her name was Therese von Neumann, and she is known as a saint, and she was a stigmatic. She bled from her hands on Fridays in sympathetic pains to the crucified religious figure. She had very, very deep connections to the Christian religion. And I feel that her Christ connection was very, very pure. And it's why I'm never critical of people that have deeply held beliefs, deeply devoted to Christ, or working within the church. It's beautiful. And it's beautiful if you have a belief in the Bible or biblical literalism, like very beautiful. I'm not critical of anyone, but I make this a separate teaching from any affiliation with that. And I'll read what I have written in my notes on that. But I bring her up because she sustained herself for the last 25 years of her life, like well into her elder senior years, eating nothing but one little tiny Eucharist wafer. So you guys know a Eucharist is like a little tiny rice cracker. It's like probably 2 calories. There's no way in the world that she could have sustained herself scientifically, objective materialist, off of those calories. And she wasn't skinny. She was kind of plump, and she was very, very healthy and very, very active. So she wasn't just like sitting still in like a barely breathing, kind of like stasis. Because some meditators from Asia, like they just kind of go into like a deep stasis where they're barely breathing, they're barely alive, and they don't need very many calories. She went around doing a lot of different things and was observed. So it's not like she was like secretly like, bring me the cookies later, I'll give you $5. It was not like that. And I'm being a little bit irreverent. Was observed a lot and did not eat more than that. The point is, had an incredible level of devotion and faith to her faith. And that was her belief system. That was a structured integument that told her how it was possible to get everything that she needed in terms of sustenance from the Eucharist. And that is what is necessary. So it is both like a software program that is a structured belief system, and then also the light itself that comes inside of you. And then I will also tell you that the activities that one pursues while one is sustained in that way are not ordinary mundane activities. That although she didn't spend her time in stasis, breathing, meditation, and immobile or something like that, she did go around spending most of her time collecting flowers and arranging them very specifically, like on an altar of devotion. Like, you don't just go out and be like, I'm going to become a breatharian and I'm going to like dig ditches or whatever, build skyscrapers. I'm going to be a metallurgist. I'm going to smelt metal. Like, unless that is your like devotional activity. Devotional activities, booking time on the telescope, being a faithful renderer of the divine perfect patterns of what you're supposed to be doing in every moment in your life. It's very much against the commodification level of our world, where it's like, yeah, drink your coffee, eat your morning bagel, and I want you to get out there and dig a ditch for me. That is just a different level of our being. We're moving beyond that. Please be in complete love and forgiveness, and celebration is better than forgiveness. Love and celebration of yourself within this cultural paradigm that you are moving towards Christhood, even amidst sometimes the necessity of digging a ditch or building a website or whatever it is that you do. Okay, DMT, got all of this, got all of that. Your pineal gland is the movie screen of your imagination. It is the emanator of reality that you imagine. And it allows one to send and receive thought broadcasts to and from others. You receive thought broadcasts from Christ. Christ is a living being. Christ is a living, incredibly loving. I can't even describe to you enough how profoundly loving and good this living person organism is. Like, you can see, like, it brings tears to my eyes. So unbelievably loving. And you can have that master teacher beaming those thoughts of pure love into your mind. And I want you to know, although I talk about booking time on the telescope, it is meant to be a guiding presence throughout your daily activities, that you are meant to know where you should be going, what you should be doing, what you should be saying, how you can serve the world, how you can serve God, how you can serve others from that constant loving presence. And it is also constantly teaching you in all of the examples around our world. So, I mean, you might learn by looking at a real estate sign, from my silly example here. You might learn by walking through the forest and looking at trees. I learn a lot from trees. You might learn from doing any number of activities. And so the point is being guided through these activities. That is your personal spiritual weightlifting program that helps you to cultivate and helps you to be a little baby sea turtle that makes it across the sand, gets to the ocean of consciousness, that you have this teacher, guide that nourishes and sustains you. And it can also sustain you in terms of helping you to choose the best food. And I used to play a little game where I don't really eat pastries or whatever, but like I would look at the pastry case and be like, which one, like which one is the best one? Like it's that one, you can tell, or the fruits or something like that. You're picking something out at the market. Choose the one that has like a glowing ball of energy around it. You know what I mean? That's the one that is meant for you. And this is similar to the sense of like that one cracker is enough to sustain that woman. When you become this, it is this specific, you eat the specific nutrients, those specific molecules are the ones they are meant for you. You're going to want to eat those. So sending and receiving beautiful, loving thought broadcasts from this amazing, wonderful, larger level of self. It's you loving yourself, but it's also an externalized creature, person, being. I don't have words for it because creature is a little bit disrespectful, but I want you to know it is an extraterrestrial. Christ is an extraterrestrial, not necessarily like E.T., the friendly extraterrestrial from, the movies or something like that, but it is a beyond human level of being, and it is extra dimensional, and it encompasses earthly life, redwood trees, humans, and blue whales, and it encompasses non-earthly life, and it encompasses life across many different times and timelines and different time places. It's incredibly complex. That's why I call it an it. It's not a he, it's not a she, but it's not an it in the sense of a condescended, whatever, like smaller, lower level thing, as we often say, like it, like pick it up. Like, no, it's an it, it's a being, it's an organism, it's a level of consciousness, and incredibly, it has personhood, and definitely personhood in the sense of self and sentience and profound love. And when I talk about this, like marriage, when you're having a marriage between yourself and Christ, there's an enormous amount of real love and real devotion to you as the special, unique person that you are. Like, I really want you to know that it is the same exact way that, yes, like a lover loves you and it's like, oh, like, I love that little thing that your earlobe does. And I love that little shape of your shoulder. Like, your quirks are loved. Your unique aspects of you are loved. It's the antithesis of judgment. It's the antithesis. And so that's, if I get into any of the things that I want to talk about in terms of the Christian religion, there are some aspects here. I will read it out to you. Sorry. Christ consciousness is not associated with the Christian religion, many of whose teachings are antithetical to Christ consciousness. They take one away from the connection to Christ and the awakening in the awakened nature of the third eye. So what I mean there is specifically aspects of guilt and shame. It takes you away from the telescope, like guilt and shame. Those are definitely feelings that are like, you're getting up to these levels of being able to see, and then you kind of get whisked away from that. And that I want you to know that this Christ that is so loving as a consciousness force field is really the antithesis of guilt and shame. It does not teach through that, or he, she, it, that loving Christ presence does not teach you through like bad guilt, shame, or any of those things. You can really be fully authentic. And that's what I talk about when I talk about what galactic civilization is like, where I come from. Like, not only is it ridiculous to think that you're hiding behind your towel from X-ray vision, but also the sense that you have to hide. You're like, yes, my back just went up. You're like, yes, I made that mistake. I did that thing and it was wrong. And something I learned from it and I grew from it. Or maybe this, I did that thing and it was right. And I did it. And that's me. That is it's an incredible amount of freedom. That freedom is the consciousness freedom to be able to move as an impulse from place to place or time to time or have different experiences. Freedom is also the freedom to claim ownership and responsibility of who you are and what you've done. And that is what it is to have a soul. My definition of what it is to have a soul is your description of your trajectory of all of these different experiences that you've been through. You are this tapestry. You're like, these are all the ways that my lives are tied together with all of my other lives. It's your soul. And it's a beautiful picture of who you are. And when you have a soul, you claim responsibility. You're like, I did that thing and I did that thing and that happened as a result. And then I went here and I did that thing. And there's an enormous amount of freedom to be able to be that. And then to be seen and loved mean accepted. Because remember, you create this very, very strong blazing force field of love. That is what sustains all of these beautiful flowers of understanding up here. Christ is the ultimate blazing force field of love that sees everything, every single person, every single thing that is in existence, sees all of it and is blazingly in compassion and in love with all of these things that have happened. Loves you, loves the context that you're in, loves everything you've been through, loves everything that you have the potential to become, and absolutely is doing everything, like would do is devoted to you, becoming everything. And spoiler alert, I have this in my notes, but you become Christ through your own inner experiences, maturation, accruing light, growing, becoming wiser, comprehending is a better word, comprehending other creatures, other beings, other organisms as they're moving through their lives and the complexity of life. You end up becoming this overarching organism and you love yourself. You are loving yourself and you are loving all these other aspects of self. And it becomes an amazing level of not merely acceptance, but celebration. And that's what this amazing relationship and interactivity is about. So I speak to you about this and I wear this symbolic cross here because I tell you, it is time to reclaim both the word Christ and the teachings Christ. And that there have been a lot of distortions that have been done using the name Christ and using the name Jesus Christ as an outgrowth of the master teacher Yeshua. So let me just clarify all of this. You don't have to be a particular religion in order to be part of Christ. You don't have to ascribe to a particular religion. And Christ is a literal part of your anatomy, and you can't not have it. Like physical eyes, your Christ chakra or your chakra here, it can be open, it can be closed, and it can be blind. And if a person is blind and they cannot perceive, you can't force them to have your viewpoint. So if this chakra is damaged or not activated in a person that is blind on that level, you can't force them to agree with you, see the world the way that you do, or have your viewpoint. You must love and accept, like they are on their journey, they are where they are at. And eyes open or eyes closed, not to make funny faces, is analogous to whether your pineal gland is active or inactive. Do you have gas in your car to make it go? You can have the most awesome Lamborghini, and if you don't have gas in your car, you can't make it go. Doesn't mean that your car is better than someone else's car. No, it doesn't at all. And it also means that sometimes as part of the journey, you have to be like, yeah, I'm trying to get some gas in my gas tank and then I can go again. And that is part of the wisdom teaching and part of the guidance and the self-cultivation. In some portions of one's life, your third eye might be dormant, and it takes a lot of unconditional love in order to make your third eye function. And that is light. You need to have light flowing through your body. And as I've been here in the past couple of years, like it has been dark times. I want to hold my drink like this and be like, honey, like it's been dark times. It's been very difficult here. Very, very challenging times with not a lot of light, and very challenging to maintain and stay faithful to the image of paradise and of truth that I see when my pineal gland is active and when there is light. So that is part of my journey and my job joy being here. So I said this I said this already. Some of this is connected to the actual amount of light or natural sunlight and the ability to see and know more when light awareness is available on a sunny day. So on a sunny day, summertime of the soul, you're like, there's tons of light. It's light until 9 o'clock p.m. Like there's so much light. I'm super tan. And then sometimes winter time of the soul. We have been going through winter time of the soul. There has been chemtrail, crapola, pineal gland assaults, genetically modified humans, genetically modified food sources, all sorts of things that are errant signals that are here that have been making it very, very difficult, blocking out light and making light not that much. Just like in the wintertime, there's short days and the light is very weak and there's not that much light. You stay faithful and you stay true and you make it through those times. And at a certain point, there is the bursting forth. Summertime happens again. That is what we maintain ourselves for. And also you sustain yourself, you sustain others as best you possibly can on the journey. You encourage others on the journey and you remain faithful to that vision of paradise, that is what you are truly manifesting. I talk about this because it's about planetary ascension. Maybe a couple of years ago, people were very much like, woohoo, planetary ascension, like kind of the way you feel at like an amusement park, like sliding on the water slide, woohoo, this is going to be great. And then like a difficult slog over many, many, many years. And now people are a little bit more like this, like, woohoo, like this ascension is really challenging. You know, like I joke about this, but it's been rather grueling and it has been winter time of the soul. So really important to maintain that vision. What's the vision? The sense that like from your inner capacitation, your imagination and your observership, you can create a world. You can create a beautiful world. You can create an ideal world, a comfortable world. Then there's been definite pushback from the cosmos where there have been all these inhibitory signals that are kind of like, oh no, like you're still going to struggle financially. You're going to have a ton of crap politics and a lot of other things that aren't that good going on in your world. And you're like, but I read the pamphlet. We're supposed to be having ascension. What is going on here? And I'm making it very lighthearted to kind of break the emotional tension, but I've been disappointed. I've been finding it difficult to keep going. I've been through amazing amounts of turmoil. I will tell you in all honesty, very, very authentically with you, as I'm very authentic as a person. What has sustained me through very, very real tortures, very, very real difficulties is this light of Christ that is an inner light that can sustain you, that can guide you, that can bring you through the most difficult situations. I have survived things that, you know, biologically should have killed me, but that I did not die and I was sustained literally by Christ. And that is a total confirmation of everything, of the power and profound love that is inherent in that level of consciousness. And I share this with you so that you know you are not abandoned, you are not lost, you are not alone, that Christ's presence is absolutely here in our world and is doing everything that it can to get to us, feed us, nourish us, take care of us, guide us through all of these very, very challenging things that have been going on in terms of, I joke about the lollipops that have been happening, the 5G, the satellites, and everything even worse than fluoride in babies' toothpastes. All right, we'll just say it in that way, because I do get lighthearted to kind of break the tension. But I really, really want you to know deeply in your heart the realness, the profound love, the inevitability, the levels of support that you have from Christ, the other facets of being that are at the level of the Christ being, and the inevitability for you to connect with them, that to join with that, to be that, to have that coming together, marriage, be the truth of your reality. So stay faithful to that vision, remain faithful to that vision of joy and paradise, the ideal world that is truly what feeds and sustains us. That's actually a really good thing to end on. I want to get to all of your questions. I want to say a couple of more things. Just because you get the library card of the cosmos doesn't mean that you immediately know everything. All right. You activate your Christ, you get your crown chakra going, you get tons of guidance, but you still have to do the work of actually learning and the world is your schoolhouse where you are walking around and learning. So these are going beyond levels of, I guess, egocentrism, where you're like, I'm Christ, I know everything. Like, no, you are Christ. Everyone else is also Christ on this journey towards self-knowing. You don't know everything yet. You have to learn and be guided. So that's a big part of it. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to apply all of the knowledge that you receive, because that is also part of the journey of wisdom that you're on. You're like, great, I read every book in the library. Now I know everything. But what you really know is a lot of theoretical knowledge that you must apply in your embodied experience existence. And that's joyful. Be joyful about that. It's like, yep, I took the tutorial and now I actually get to do the stuff and learn how to do the stuff. So making sure that I got most of this stuff. I sent out my notes in email, and I want to make sure that I got all the things that are the most important. I think that I did, because you're imagining a much better level of experience. More information later on the Merkaba as a multi-use tool for capacities of the pineal gland. I already did that teaching, actually. My weeks don't always sync up with my notes, but I already did that teaching last week about maybe 2 weeks ago, advanced uses of the Merkaba. So you put a Merkaba star tetrahedron around your whole body. You can also put one just around your head and your higher faculties. You can also imagine one just in the deep interior of your forehead. The idea is blocking out errant signals and only allowing in that true light of Christ to be able to inform you and I want to say also transform you. Let me go, and please let me open the floor to any questions. I know this has been a marathon, but it's been very, very nice to not have any time pressure and just be able to get through all these things and say all the things that I really wanted to say to you. This is beautiful. Joanne had said earlier about God, we are made in his image. He's teaching me to transform negativity into positivity as well, which is a much needed skill. Beautiful. That was earlier on the levels of being great in spite of those challenges and obstacles that are thrown at us. And that it's a beautiful role model to have God as role model, teaching us to recontextualize and transcend the negative stuff that we experience and receive into positive lessons that we grow from. And Trish has great insight from that time in the conversation, says, in other words, no need for duality. Thank you for that. And that actually reminds me of some important stuff from my notes. Talk a lot in my class about awareness. Left eye versus right eye, contrast, light areas of my face versus dark areas of, the background or the shadow or something like that. Everything about our biological world being couched and contextualized in duality, light versus dark, hot versus cold, thing versus nothing. And that becomes an innate expectation in our nature. But that really, when you activate your third eye, your inner eye, your eye that can see pure time and perceive pure time, it is the beginning of your journey of transcending duality. Begin to transcend duality. So we're talking here about not an elaborate justification system to justify atrocities. Instead, non-duality as a contextualization of the multifaceted truth of existence. That when you look behind the unicorn tapestry and you see the way that events are all connected, then it's like, well, how can I describe this event over here? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it wrong? Is it right? Well, it's connected to all of this, and it contains all of this, and it connects with all of this. But again, not a justification for axe murdering and other things like that, but definitely a contextualization, giving meaning to things that would otherwise seem to be random, unfair, inexplicable, or otherwise a test of it's something that would make you question the existence of God. I wanted to say a test of faith, but I want to use the word faith differently in this particular class here. So something that would make you question the existence of God. You're like, how can that thing happen? Where is God? Like, kind of like, what is God doing while all of this is going on? And the answer is that is part of this. So the inner eye activation of Christ and your awareness rising to the level of Christ means that it's not just good versus evil or hot versus cold or light versus dark. There are many aspects and levels to the story, not to be used as a justification for things that should not be in existence or should not be justified. Joanne also says, lots of people are living in the past, following a book written over 2,000 years ago. It's about time to update this outdated story. So, just briefly, I always say I'm not a biblical literalist, but I will tell you, I've received inspiration from reading the Bible or reading the New Testament. And what I choose to do is leave behind the fish with bones. The bones for me are cultural anachronisms. I don't condone slavery. I don't condone male supremacy or the patriarchy or treating women as chattel or buying or selling them as wives. I don't condone racism. I don't condone a lot of the political violence that is in the Bible in terms of, like the Israelites were given a land. They went in and they killed everybody who lived there and took the land. Like, I don't condone a lot of these, what I would consider to be cultural anachronisms of the original Bible, which was written, again, 5,700 years ago, and the New Testament, which was written 2,000 years ago. The origins of these texts is also somewhat in question about whether they are amalgamations of previously established ancient myths, about whether they were truly channeled information from God, whether they are a genuine reportage of words that were said by truly anointed holy figures in our world. The best way to look at them is as a source of guidance and inspiration when it's wintertime of the soul. That's it. These books can give you comfort when you're like, I don't have time on the telescope. I don't know what's going on. Open a holy book, read it, and try to find words of inspiration. The things that inspire me the most are about the things that remind you of God's profound love and compassion for you, forgiveness and mercy, treating others in a beautiful way, lifting and serving others in a beautiful way. And also I internalize all the miracles. Oh, someone over here is saying hi. Let's say hi. Someone over here just woke up from her dog bed. Let's say hi. Cheeky, everybody loves you. Good job, little girl. So I choose to relinquish and de-emphasize the aspects of, and I'm mostly familiar with the Judeo-Christian Old Testament, which is known as the Torah, and New Testament, which is the stuff about, past 2,000 years from Jesus's time. So I'm not as familiar with, let's say, the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or something like that. But I tend to take the aspects of the holy writings that I'm familiar with that talk about miracles, that sustain us in the sense of giving us a consciousness integument about what is possible with the belief in God, with the belief and alignment with the divine. I love the concept of miracles of healing, of miracles of transformation of consciousness, like a person who becomes a more elevated version of themselves. People who are lifted up out of very negative life experiences and then go on into much more positive life experiences. And there are many different stories of this in the Bible. Those are the things that I tend to look at more, and definitely reject or take out as a fish with bones, things that are about like an egocentric God that, is whimsical or capricious or favors one nation over another and smites another, or any of those things that don't feel like they resonate with this true consciousness that is Christ, that is about pure love and pure devotion. Oh, that's so beautiful. So this is on the topic of the innate nature of words being distortive objects, distortive phonemes. Joanne was saying words have been inverted and can cause misconceptions. And I appreciate your integrity and attention to words. And Trish says, this is beautiful. The words you choose open up new portals for us. That is my intention. And I'm so pleased to hear that, because I'm sending out tons of telepathic support. Like if the word says this, I send out this much telepathy supporting the word that I'm sending out. And that telepathy that I'm talking about is a literal frequency signal that emanates from my pineal gland outward and is coming to you. If you are in consent, just you can nod telepathically, be like, yep, basically tune into Aurora, and that I only wish to tune into willing and consensual dance partners. Oh, and we got to that pineal gland, light controlling your biological clock. So that's what melatonin is. I actually don't encourage people to take melatonin supplements if you can't sleep. What helps you to go to sleep at night is turning off your blue lights. Blue lights simulate the sun at zenith, which makes you be awake and you know what's in your blue lights. Where's my phone? My phone is somewhere else. Blue lights on your phone. So everybody who's in bed on your phone, looking at stuff and scrolling through, you're keeping yourself awake. You're preventing the hormonal release of melatonin, which is the go-to sleep hormone in your body that is telling your body, you know something, it's time for you to go to sleep. You need to go into a dream state. You need to stop thinking with your regular human rational mind, and you need to perform daily body maintenance to take care of your root chakra and the roots of your body and your physical cellular structure. Because when you go to sleep is when your body heals itself. It's when you truly get in touch with that divine healing aspect of your own innate architecture. So you want to make sure that your day, night, light balance helps a lot. And I have a thing that's set up on my iPad. You can make it at whatever 9 or 10 p.m. You can make it shift from blue light to yellow light. And that helps a lot. So see if you can do stuff like that, but also like I'm pointing at LED light bulbs and all sorts of other things. I do a bunch of things in my room where I have my bed, actual bedroom. I have like a Tibetan, like one of those salt lamps. Turn on the salt lamp. Don't turn on the LED lights. Don't turn on the blue light. Like you do these things to start getting your body to release melatonin. And that helps a lot. And Joanne is asking for that special heated salt, Ormus, ORMUS. And the website that I like is called Dancing with Water. It's where I get all of my water structuring stuff. Joanne shares that they are trying to go natural and limit psychedelics, although she paints magic mushrooms and many others might assume otherwise. I want to know what is happening to me is real and not in effect. I think that that is very appropriate and very conscious on your journey, because I think that it's, again, like there would be no diminishment of your spiritual experience. If you ate a bunch of psilocybe cubensis and then saw or talked with God, that would still be a valid experience. But what I talk about here is like how sustainable that is. It's like 13 minutes on the great telescope, probably not something that can be sustained all the time. And also, is there the wisdom of the attainment that if it is done suddenly or without preparation beforehand, does the experiencer have the equipment that they need to comprehend and integrate the information that has come to them, sometimes in a fire hose, like apply fire hose here, and then you get all this light inside of you. And there I have, just as a brief anecdote, a couple of friends who have taken some of these DMT substances, and they're like, yep, I went up like a rocket ship and I found myself in this place and I was talking to all these entities, and then like went back down in the elevator. And so then I took it again, like smoked it again and went back up, and they were like this, the entities were like this, oh, you like get back down, like too soon. You know what I mean? Like too soon, like go integrate everything. I just gave you a heap of information, go integrate it all, don't come back soon. Which I just think is very funny. But also, please understand, when you take that rocket ship, sometimes you go to the astral world, which is full of entities, some of whom are benevolent teachers, some of whom are malevolent exploiters. And you definitely have to have your Merkaba of protection up to be able to do those explorations, which is also why I offer cautions, yellow caution flags on taking random molecules and jumping into higher dimensional states. If you are not sure, are you going to a bad neighborhood? Don't drive to a bad neighborhood in the astral realm, please, which is what the lower astral pretty much is. And Joanne shares this: I mean no disrespect to the ascended master Yeshua. I'm critical of the Bible because it has been altered and whole books are missing. Exactly. It has become unhelpful. Yeshua knows my heart. I'm defending truth when I speak against the Bible. And I respect that. I respect people who connect with Yeshua or Christ or your sense of divinity or God on an inner level. Don't have to attend a physical church. If you attend a physical church, that is fantastic. You don't have to read a Bible or a holy book in order to pray. What you have to do is do the inner, you cultivate your soul. That really, all the things that are about religious teachings and being a good person, it means you're on your soul's journey, you're cultivating your soul. And just very, very briefly, this past Christmas time, I went to the place where I usually go to church. And people are like, Aurora, like you go to church? Like, yes, I've actually been enjoying very much being in community with other people who are spiritual seekers. I recognize that they might be on a different level of development than I am. I am not condescending to them at all. I am celebratory and in love with them and their unique flavor of their spirituality. And I've had beautiful love and companionship, and people who have prayed over me and shared their cares and concerns for my spiritual journey. So I find it to be a positive place to go. And also, I am not affiliated with I don't affiliate with, nor do I condone any of the excesses, historical crimes of both the Catholic Church and Christian missionaries, and things that have been done in Christ's name that have been very harmful to other people. Don't condone any of that. But I also have found myself very much in the position of being a Christian apologist, when people are like, you wear a cross and you go to church, like something is wrong with you. And then I feel like I have to explain all these things. But it's really important to know that being in community and being part of a spiritual faith community can be very positive. But please don't make it a us versus them club. Please don't make it a justification for a diminishment of others. Please do it as a celebration of the things that you can do in community. Like I told you, if you guys want that link, I could send it to you. Help to raise money to build a well in Malawi, which is a place in Africa where they need to be able to afford $5,000 for a well that will transform people's lives. I'm still interested in people funding that project. Good things happen when people gather together as spiritual aspirants and then take their positive intentions and actually put it into meaningful action in the world. So that is why in some ways I applaud the church, and then in other ways the church is ripe for certain criticism. So I respect I respect that viewpoint that was just shared there. And then I respect the viewpoint of others who espouse the church. And then I respect people who are sometimes hot and cold on it. Maybe they have attended, maybe they stopped attending, maybe they don't attend the church that they really want and they need to find a different community. This is all part of the wisdom attainment. This is literally part of you growing the roots of your spiritual attainment that then help to uphold these amazing flowers here. Because when you really see behind the tapestry, you see everything. You see everything, and you see the causality structure of everything, and it all makes sense to you. And Joanne also goes on to say, we are warriors for all we've already survived. Very much so. I very much identify with that. Very much a soldier or warrior might be a better word, having experienced a lot within this spiritual battle and being sustained and transcending the bad things and healing from them and making it through. And then I also know that I will be able to have that perspective also of like, why did bad stuff happen back 3 hours ago? And I'm joking about like, why did I spill my coffee on my shirt that morning? But things that have happened to me have been on a different magnitude than merely spilling coffee on my blouse. But still, sometimes I would like to know about some of these things. Joanne says, thank you. And the Bible was helpful after I picked out all the bones. Definitely good. I applaud that. I applaud that. And let us celebrate those who are on their journey of enjoying, like reading from the Bible, those who are rejecting the Bible, those who are trying to find the nourishing aspects of it. And also let us also recognize that don't be culturally ethnocentric to the Judeo-Christian Bible, even though it is such a prevalent holy writing in this time place. And I know that this particular class teaching is about non-religious Christ consciousness, but I did bring up the recognition of Krishna, who is written about in the Bhagavad Gita and referred to extensively in the Hindu tradition, the Hindu pantheon of multiple gods and goddesses, and that is there is so much more that is going on than merely the Torah and the New Testament in terms of human religious, cultural, and spiritual development. And at a certain point, I just will, spoiler alert, I will just tell you, like, you will transcend all of these externalizations and writings, just like you will transcend the written recipe book and diet structure that from the past 2,000 years, how to be a good person, a book, how to be a good person, and also what to eat and what to do and how to dress. You will transcend all of those things, and you will listen completely 100% in every moment to your inner guidance. That is like your God positioning system that tells you what to eat, where to go, what to do, how to speak, how to help others, how to receive, how to give, and is an amazing level of rapport. It is spiritual freedom. This is the antithesis of anything that would make you an automaton or a robot. This is all done when I talk about this love and devotion in freedom. And that's why I've also spoken to you about my own personal value system of coming here and offering to you the Flying Rainbow Lasagna in freedom, and with your own option to accept and embrace and celebrate, or reject, run the other direction, and completely forget about and purge your memory systems of it, is totally up to you. And I respect you and your needs on whatever are the needs of your journey. I want to open the floor to any other questions or comments. And then also I'll be sure to spend time after I finish the recording for anyone who wants to simply say or share anything that they might wish to share that doesn't end up in the recording. But I also want to offer to you and say my very, very profound, very real love, blessings, good wishes, positive energy, true Merry Christmas, a true reawakening, wishing you a true reawakening and reconnection of this anatomy to Christ and pure light. And everything about Christmas and Christmas time is about staying positive in dark times and recognizing that we might be going through a spiritual winter time or a difficult time or a dark time. And please remain faithful and true to that beautiful vision of paradise, of what is possible, profound healing in your body. Every time I talk about this, non-chronological decrepitude, moving through time, but remaining healthy and not experiencing what is known as aging, the transcendence and healing of diseases and injuries, scars being able to disappear, healing relationships, transcending and healing trauma, not being defined by the traumatic experiences that each one of us has had, but transcending trauma and redefining your identity in joy and different levels of self-exploration, and eternal life in the sense of metamorphosing from your chrysalis, from emerging from your egg, hatching on the beach, and then being able to move forward in your adult winged form, like on wings of consciousness, being able to ascend, being able to transcend death, being able to go in eternal and eternally God-focused, God-centric, divine-centric life experience. There's a lot of words. I hope that didn't dilute the pure feeling in my heart. So feel it from my heart and feel it from my telepathy. And thank you. And thank you to the people that connect with me in their dreams, because I do a lot of dream teaching too. So thank you for those who are in consent. And I love visiting you for direct dream. I get excited. That's why my eyes go like that. Direct dream connectivity. John, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing so much with us. It's a great class. Thank you for these teachings. I'm in gratitude for all you share. You are so welcome. Thank you for that. That is totally Gatorade to me, that energizes me on the marathon. Truly, I appreciate it. I get the most beautiful, that is a beautiful comment. And I also will say I get some of the most beautiful comments in my YouTube section. And when I share things on Patreon of people encouraging me on my path, thanking me for the things that I share, and also sharing their own unique perspective. Profound gratitude that I found and connect with so many wonderful people here on earth in this time. And may we continue to reciprocally sustain one another, make it across the beach, get to the ocean of consciousness, avoid the seagulls, guys. Okay, I'm ending on a little bit of a lighthearted note, but my profound love and encouragement to all of you. Thank you.